The howls rolled through Blackridge like the whole damn mountain had cracked open. They came from outside first, deep and furious beneath the wounded night. Then from inside the estate, vibrating through walls, floors, bones. Every wolf in the house answered Eric's refusal like it was a war drum. No, that was what he'd said to Tyler Moore. Not we'll negotiate, not name your price, not take the girl and return the brother. Just no. And my brother was still gone. The screen on Daniel's tablet had gone black after Tyler's video ended, but I could still see it. Malik's empty hospital bed, the sheets twisted where his body should have been, the dent in the pillow, that sterile room at Anderson Meridian Care with no Malik in it, no machines beside him, no Vanessa, no nurses, no one telling me he was fine. Tyler's voice kept crawling through my skull. Sunrise. The girl comes alone, or the brother leaves in pieces. I couldn't breathe right. Not the cute kind of couldn't breathe. Not the dramatic movie kind where some man puts his hands on your shoulders and tells you everything will be okay while the music swells. No, this was ugly. This was air turning into broken glass. This was my chest locking like my body had decided survival was above its pay grade. He has Malik, I said. No one answered fast enough. The main hall looked like hell had tried to redecorate and given up halfway through. One of the tall windows near the west corridor was shattered. Blood streaked the marble floor in dark, dragging lines. Somewhere close, a child was crying. Somewhere farther away, a wolf snarled in pain as Vanessa barked orders at two men carrying an injured fighter between them. Eric stood in the center of it all, like violence had been built around him. Barefoot, shirt torn at the shoulder, blood on his throat, his chest, his hands. Some of it had to be his. Most of it probably wasn't. His expensive watch still sat on his wrist, shining obscenely under the chandelier like time gave a fuck about anyone bleeding beneath it. His cold eyes were on me. "Jaynayah," he said. "Don't." My voice came out sharp enough to cut. "Do not say my name, like I'm about to be unreasonable." His jaw tightened. That was answer enough. I laughed, but it sounded like something dead trying to crawl. "Oh, I'm sorry. Is this the part where I'm supposed to be calm? Because my disabled brother just got kidnapped from the fancy secret hospital you moved him to without asking me, and now some wolf dickhead with alpha issues is threatening to mail him back in pieces." A few people flinched. Good. They could flinch. I wanted the whole room to feel wrong. "I'm going," I said. Eric didn't move. "No." The word hit harder up close. I stepped toward him anyway. "He asked for me." "He baited you. He has my brother. And he'll have you too if you walk out that door. Then maybe you should have thought about that before you made my life part of your little werewolf pissing contest." A growl went through the room. Not from Eric. From several throats around us. I turned so fast my neck pinched. "Say it louder, please. I would love for one of you to explain to me how my brother getting stolen is an inconvenience to your evening." "Enough," Eric said. That one word shut the hall down. It should have scared me. Maybe it did. Maybe that was why I couldn't stop talking. No, not enough. My hands were shaking, and I hated them for it. "You don't get to stand here and decide Malik is an acceptable loss because he's human." Something changed in Eric's face. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. But the temperature in the room seemed to drop. "Do not," he said softly, "put Tyler's cruelty in my mouth." I swallowed. He came closer and every wolf nearby went still. "I moved your brother because Raymond Cross sold information to Tyler Moore," Eric said. "I put him behind my security, my doctors, and my money, because I thought that would keep him alive. Tyler did not take Malik because Malik is unprotected. He took Malik because someone helped him reach places he should not have known existed." My anger stumbled, only for a second. Then panic shoved it forward again. "Then trade me." "No. Eric, no. Stop saying that like it solves anything. It solves you not being handed to him like property." I stepped into his space, too close to be smart. I was already handed over like property, remember? That's how I got here." His eyes flashed gold so fast I almost missed it. "No one trades you," he said. The words sank into the broken hall. I hated that they did something to me. Hated that underneath the terror and rage, some small, exhausted part of me wanted to believe him. Wanted, stupid bitch. Belief was how people got killed. Behind me, someone muttered, "This started when she came here." I turned. A man I didn't know well stood near the staircase with blood soaking one sleeve. His face was twisted with pain and fear, which made him brave enough to be cruel. "My brother didn't attack your estate," I snapped. "No, but Tyler did. For you." "Jordan," a woman hissed. "No," he said, voice rising. "My mate is downstairs bleeding. My son was in that safe room. We're all pretending this human girl isn't bringing every enemy Eric has ever had straight to our doors." The word human landed like spit. I opened my mouth. Nothing came. Because the worst part was, I had thought the same thing. I had seen the pregnant women huddled behind reinforced doors, the kids covering their ears while wolves screamed outside, the blood on Caleb's shirt when he shoved 2 little boys ahead of him into the safe room and told them to run. I had brought Tyler's attention here. Not on purpose, but bodies didn't care about intention when they were bleeding. A small sound came from the corridor. I looked over and saw a little girl sitting on the bottom stair, knees tucked up under her oversized sweatshirt. Her curls were messy. Her eyes were wet. She had one hand wrapped around a stuffed rabbit missing an ear. I remembered her from the safe room. She had clung to my leg when the first crash hit the back entrance. She looked at me now like she wasn't sure if I was dangerous or just another adult who didn't know how to save anyone. My throat tightened. Damn it. I moved before I could talk myself out of it. The wolves watched me cross the hall. Eric didn't stop me. I crouched a few feet from the little girl, careful not to crowd her. "Hey," I said, softer than I felt. "You still got Mr. Bunny?" She nodded once. "Good, because honestly, he looks like he's seen some shit, and I respect that." Her bottom lip trembled, but the smallest laugh slipped out. The sound almost broke me. I looked at her scraped knee. "You hurt?" She shook her head. "You scared?" Another nod. "Yeah," I whispered. "Me too." Her eyes widened, like adults weren't supposed to admit that. I didn't know what else to say. I wasn't built for Gentle. Gentle had been beaten out of my house one slammed door at a time, but I reached down, picked up a piece of broken glass near her shoe, and tossed it aside before it could cut her. "You stay away from the shiny murder confetti, okay?" This time her laugh was stronger. A woman rushed from the hallway and gathered the child into her arms, murmuring thanks without looking directly at me. I stood, rubbing my palms against my jeans. Rebecca Turner appeared near the kitchen entrance with a stack of towels pressed to her chest. Her eyes moved from me to Jordan, then back again. "She didn't ask him to come here," Rebecca said. Jordan's mouth tightened. Rebecca's voice stayed calm, but there was iron under it. Danger followed her because men keep selling her like property. That is not the same thing. The hall went quiet. I stared at her. She didn't smile. Didn't make it soft. Just handed me a towel because apparently I had blood on my forearm and hadn't noticed. I took it. My fingers curled around the fabric. "Thanks," I muttered. It came out rough, almost inaudible. Rebecca heard it anyway. She gave one small nod and moved on. Eric watched me like he'd just seen a crack in a wall he'd been studying for days. I looked away first. Daniel Reed came in from the security corridor with Caleb limping behind him. Caleb had a bandage pressed to his ribs and blood drying along his temple, but of course his mouth still worked. "Good news," Caleb said, then winced. "Actually, no. Terrible news. But I'm alive, so personally, I'm counting that as a win." Nobody laughed. He glanced around. Tough room. Daniel ignored him and headed straight for Eric. His tablet was back in his hand, Tyler's video frozen on the screen. "We pulled the message apart frame by frame," Daniel said. My heart kicked so hard I nearly dropped the towel. Eric's eyes sharpened. "And?" Daniel looked at me. I hated that look. The careful one. The one doctors used before they ruined your life. Say it, I demanded. Daniel turned the tablet toward us. The image was grainy, but I recognized the bed. Malik's bed. Only this time the video was paused before the camera had fully shifted away. At the edge of the frame, barely visible beneath the hanging sheet, was a hand. Dark skin, long fingers, a hospital band still around the wrist. Malik's hand. My knees almost gave. Daniel zoomed in with 2 fingers. Watch. He hit play. For half a second, nothing happened. Then Malik's fingers twitched. Once, twice, 3 times. A pause. Then once again. My breath stopped. Daniel's voice dropped. He was alive when Tyler sent this. The room blurred. I grabbed the back of a chair, nails digging into the wood. Eric stepped closer but didn't touch me. Daniel replayed the clip, slower this time. The fingers moved again. Not random. Not a spasm. A pattern. A cold, impossible feeling slid through my body, because I knew that pattern. Malik and I had made it up when we were kids, back when talking at the wrong time could get us both hurt. 1 tap for yes, 2 for no, 3 for danger. A pause meant listen, and that last tap, that meant look closer. Daniel frowned at the screen. Jaynayah? I leaned in, my pulse roaring in my ears. On the metal bedrail beside Malik's hand, reflected backward in the shine, was something Tyler clearly hadn't noticed. A symbol. Blue glass, white lettering, a partial sign on a wall behind the camera. My stomach dropped, because it wasn't Tyler's territory marker. It was a medical logo, and I had seen it before.
Author's point of view.
For 3 seconds, no one in Blackridge moved. The frozen image on Daniel's tablet held the entire hall hostage. Malik's hand beneath the hospital sheet, his fingers caught mid-signal, the bedrail shining with a distorted reflection no one was supposed to notice. Blue glass, white lettering, a medical logo half-eaten by shadow. Jaynayah stared at it like the shape had reached out of the screen and grabbed her by the throat. Eric watched her face change. Not soften, not break, sharpen. Fear was still there, raw and violent, but something else pushed through it. Memory, recognition, the kind that didn't ask permission before dragging old pain into the room. You know it, Daniel said. Jaynayah's lips parted. For a moment she didn't answer, then she reached for the tablet. Daniel handed it over without hesitation. She pinched the image larger, her hands steadier now than they had been minutes ago. That was the thing about Jaynayah Cross. Panic made her loud, but purpose made her dangerous. That's not Anderson Meridian, she said. No, Vanessa replied from behind them, her scrub streaked with blood that was not all dry. It isn't. Jaynayah swallowed, eyes fixed on the warped logo. Willow Creek. Daniel's brows drew together. Willow Creek. Willow Creek Neuro Recovery Center. Her voice had gone flat, scraped clean of anything soft. My father stuck Malik there after the 3rd insurance denial. The place smelled like bleach, piss, and expired hope. They had that stupid blue sign in the lobby. Glass wall behind the nurse's station. White letters. Rebecca, still near the kitchen entrance, pulled the towel tighter against her chest. Vanessa stepped forward. Willow Creek closed almost 3 years ago. Yeah, Jaynayah's mouth twisted. Because apparently when enough disabled patients get neglected, even rich people start pretending to care. A low curse came from Caleb. Eric's eyes cut to Daniel. Location. Daniel was already moving. Old private wing off Route 16, 28 miles northeast. Technically neutral ground, but close enough to Moore's border for him to smell it. Is it still standing? Eric asked. Last property file said condemned. Daniel's fingers flew across the tablet. Utilities disconnected, deed transferred through 2 shell companies after bankruptcy. Owned by who? Daniel's expression hardened. That was enough to answer enough. Eric's voice dropped. Say it. More Consolidated Holdings. The growl that left Eric was not human. Several wolves in the hall bowed their heads instinctively, not from fear alone, but from recognition. Their alpha's temper had entered the room like a loaded gun. Jaynayah looked up from the screen. So Tyler didn't take Malik to some random warehouse. He took him to a hospital. A dead one, Vanessa said. One with old surgical rooms, storage bays, possibly backup generators if Moore restored anything. Jaynayah's eyes snapped to her. Can Malik survive there? No one answered quickly enough. Her jaw clenched. Can Malik survive there? Vanessa's expression softened with the kind of professionalism that made bad news look clean. He can survive if they keep him stable, but he needs medication, monitored breathing support when he sleeps, and careful positioning. Rough transport alone could trigger complications. How long? Vanessa hesitated. Eric noticed. So did Jaynayah. How long? She repeated. Hours without proper care, Vanessa said carefully. Maybe less if Tyler's men don't know what they're doing. Jaynayah looked back at the tablet. Her thumb hovered over Malik's hand. She didn't touch the screen, didn't cry, didn't scream. That scared Eric more than her anger had. Daniel exhaled through his nose. This is bigger than Tyler knowing where Malik was. Anderson Meridian doesn't release a protected patient without layered clearance. Then how the fuck did he get him? Jaynayah asked. Daniel's mouth tightened. That's what we need to find out. Eric looked toward the security corridor. War room, now. No one argued. The main hall began moving around them again, but differently this time. Wounded wolves were carried toward Vanessa's temporary triage rooms. Mothers pulled children away from broken glass. Men with blood on their clothes gathered weapons, phones, radios, anything that could turn panic into a plan. Jaynayah followed Daniel, Eric, Vanessa, and Caleb down the corridor beneath the west wing. Blackridge's war room sat behind a steel door hidden by old wood paneling, because apparently Billionaire werewolf bullshit came with secret rooms too. Inside, the space was all black glass, low lights, wall screens, and enough surveillance tech to make the federal government feel underfunded. Jaynayah stopped just inside the doorway. For one heartbeat, she looked exhausted. Then Caleb brushed past her with a wince. Welcome to the murder basement. Snacks are usually better when we're not under siege. Do you ever shut up? She asked. Only when unconscious. Something to hope for then. Caleb grinned despite the blood on his temple. There she is. Eric gave him one look. Caleb's grin faded. Right, serious murder basement. Daniel cast Malik's video to the main screen. The image expanded across the wall, every blurred detail suddenly massive. Malik's hand, the bed rail, the ghost of Willow Creek's logo. Jaynayah stood with her arms wrapped around herself, but she leaned forward like she could crawl through the screen if she stared hard enough. Daniel pulled up Anderson Meridian Care's internal access logs. At 1:12 a.m., a medical transport request was submitted under Emergency Respiratory Transfer Protocol. Vanessa frowned. No one called me. They didn't need to. Daniel highlighted a line of code. The request used your override signature. Vanessa went still. Eric turned his head slowly. I didn't authorize anything, she said. The calm in her voice had teeth. And if someone is stupid enough to use my name to steal a patient, I'll carve the truth out of their throat myself. Jaynayah glanced at her. For the first time since the video arrived, something like approval flickered across her face. Daniel continued. The system accepted the credentials because they were valid, not brute forced, not externally hacked. Whoever did this had access to an Anderson medical transport code. Eric's fingers curled against the edge of the table. The black veins of his wolf's temper seemed to move beneath his skin. Who has those codes? He asked. Hospital administration, me, Vanessa, 2 senior security coordinators, and your private emergency system. Daniel paused. But there's another layer. A second screen lit up. Jaynayah saw a floor map she didn't recognize. Anderson Meridian Care, maybe. Corridors, elevator banks, restricted routes marked in red. The transfer order was generated off-site, Daniel said. It bounced through Meridian servers, but the original authorization ping came from Blackridge's internal network. Silence fell hard. Caleb stopped leaning on the table. Vanessa's face went blank. Jaynayah looked from one wolf to another. Meaning? Daniel didn't look away from Eric. meaning Tyler didn't just breach the hospital. Someone inside Blackridge helped open the door. The air changed. It became animal. Every wolf in the room absorbed the accusation at once. Betrayal had a scent here, even before it had a name. Jaynayah couldn't smell it the way they did, but she felt it press against her skin. Eric's voice was calm enough to be terrifying. "Find the terminal." Daniel isolated the signal. Lines of code slid across the screen. A map of the estate appeared next. Floors, wings, camera zones. "East side," Daniel said. "Guest corridor." It was masked through the kitchen supply network, then wiped. Rebecca's territory. The protected women's rooms. The place where people who owed debts, survived violence, and slept under Eric's roof were supposed to be safe. Jaynayah's stomach turned. "No," she said before she could stop herself. Eric looked at her. She hated the question in his eyes. Not suspicion, consideration, like her opinion mattered even when the house was bleeding. "You don't know it was one of them," she said. "Not yet." "No," Eric agreed. "We don't." But his voice promised that when he did know, mercy would not be his first instinct. Jaynayah dragged a hand over her face. "Tyler could have forced someone." "He could have," Daniel said. "Or bought them," Caleb muttered. "Or threatened somebody they love," Vanessa added quietly. That landed differently. Jaynayah's shoulders tightened. She understood that kind of leash. Eric's eyes remained on her. "You're thinking something." "I'm thinking men like Tyler don't always need loyalty. Sometimes they just need fear." Her voice dropped. "Fear makes people stupid." Eric studied her for a long moment. "So does desperation." Something in that sentence hit too close to Raymond, to debt, to all the ways Jaynayah had been priced without consent. Her spine stiffened. "If this is the part where you tell me to sit down and let the wolves handle it, save your breath." "This is the part where I tell you that you can help," Eric said. That stopped her. He stepped closer, lowering his voice so only the table heard him. "But you do not leave this estate alone. You do not trade yourself. You do not run toward Tyler because he holds up your brother like bait." Her mouth opened. Eric cut in, cold and exact. "Be angry, be afraid, but do not confuse me with the men who sold you." The words struck clean through the room. Jaynayah's eyes flashed. For a second, she looked ready to throw the tablet at his head. Then she looked back at Malik's hand on the screen, and whatever reply she had sharpened died behind her teeth. "Fine," she said. "Then let me help." Eric nodded once. Daniel brought up the footage again. "You said Malik was signaling." "He was." Jaynayah moved to the screen. "We made a code when we were kids." Caleb's expression softened, but for once he kept his mouth shut. "1 tap meant yes," Jaynayah said. 2 meant no. 3 meant danger. Pause meant listen. A single tap after a pause meant look closer. Daniel replayed the clip. 3 taps. Pause, 1 tap, Vanessa whispered. "Danger, listen, look closer." Jaynayah nodded. Daniel slowed the footage further. "There's movement after that, barely." The room watched. Malik's fingers twitched again. 2 taps, pause, 3, 1, 1. Jaynayah's breath caught. Eric saw it. "What?" She shook her head, stepping closer until the glow painted her brown skin in harsh blue light. "That's not part of the kid code." "Then what is it?" "It's numbers." Her voice thinned. Malik started using taps for numbers after he lost strength in his speech. 2311. Daniel typed fast. "Room number, maybe? Wing? Maybe. Date? No." Jaynayah's eyes narrowed. Malik wouldn't waste strength on a date. He knows me. He knows I'd look for something useful. Vanessa moved to the second console and pulled Willow Creek's archived floor plan from state medical records. The old neuro wing had numbered patient rooms. Daniel cross-referenced the layout. A faded blueprint appeared. Basement level, subacute ward, room 2311. The table went silent. Caleb looked up. "Tell me that isn't a coincidence." "No," Eric said, "it isn't." Daniel zoomed into the blueprint. Room 2311 is near the old service elevator. Basement access. Easy to defend, hard to see from outside. "Then we go," Jaynayah said. "No," Eric answered. Her head snapped toward him. "You just said I could help." You did. I know that place. You knew it years ago. Tyler knows it now. That's my brother. And if Tyler wanted only Malik, he wouldn't have sent the video. Jaynayah stepped toward him, fury igniting again. I am not staying behind while you are not walking into a trap designed for you. Eric's voice lowered, and this time the wolf was in it. I will get Malik. Daniel will coordinate entry. Vanessa will prepare the medical team. Caleb will stop bleeding long enough to be useful. Rude, Caleb said. Eric ignored him. You will stay on comms and tell us anything about Willow Creek that the floor plans don't show. Jaynayah's nostrils flared. Daniel, smart man that he was, slid a headset across the table before she could throw something. If there are old staff routes, hidden service halls, patient exits, anything Malik might remember, we need you conscious and not in Tyler's hands. Jaynayah stared at the headset. Her pride fought her terror. Then Malik's frozen hand stared back from the screen. She picked it up. If you get him killed, I'll make hell look like a day spa. Eric's gaze held hers. If I fail him, you won't have to. No one joked after that. Daniel's system beeped. Once, twice, every screen shifted. New ping, Daniel said sharply. Eric moved beside him. From where? Daniel's fingers flew. The estate map disappeared, replaced by a black window filled with tracking data. The transport code, Daniel said. Whoever used it forgot one thing. What? Vanessa asked. Daniel looked up, eyes hard with triumph and dread. Anderson emergency vehicles carry passive trackers inside the oxygen units. They disabled the ambulance GPS, but not the medical equipment. A red dot blinked on the map. Route 16. Willow Creek Neuro Recovery Center. Then the dot moved. Jaynayah leaned over the table, breath stopping. Daniel's voice dropped. They're not staying at Willow Creek. Eric's eyes went gold. On the screen, and the tracker turned off the main road and descended toward the old service tunnels beneath the abandoned clinic. Then a live audio feed crackled open without warning. Static, a dragging sound, a man laughing. And beneath it, weak but unmistakable, Malik's voice. Jay. The feed cut to black.
Malik's voice cut out, and something inside me went with it. For one stupid second, I stared at the black screen like if I glared hard enough, technology would grow a conscience and turn itself back on. It didn't. Because of course it didn't. Daniel was already moving, fingers flying over the console. Vanessa grabbed the back of his chair, her knuckles tight. Caleb muttered, "Shit," under his breath, and for once nobody told him to shut up. Eric didn't say anything. That was worse. His silence had weight. It pressed down on the war room until the monitors seemed too bright, the air too thin, the whole damn house too far away from where my brother was. "Get it back," I said. Daniel didn't look at me. "Trying." "Try harder." "Jaynayah," Vanessa said softly. "No." I turned on her because she was closest, and because panic needed teeth. "Do not use the calm doctor voice on me. I heard him. You heard him. He said my name." Vanessa's face tightened, but she didn't flinch. "I know. He's alive." "Yes. So get him." Eric's eyes lifted to mine. Gold bled through the cold blue-gray, slow and deadly. The wolf was right there beneath his skin, clawing at his control. I should have been terrified. Maybe I was, but my brother sounded small. Jaynayah Cross had never sounded small, not even after his body betrayed him, not even after our father stopped seeing him as a son and started seeing him as a medical bill with a heartbeat. "I'm going," I said. "No," Eric answered. The room could have collapsed, and I still would have heard that word. I laughed once, sharp and ugly. "You really like that fucking word." "Because it keeps you breathing." My brother is in a condemned clinic owned by a psychotic alpha who wants me. Do not stand there and tell me to breathe like that's a plan. It is the first step of one. "Fuck your steps." Caleb made a tiny sound. Not a laugh, more like his survival instinct catching fire. Eric moved toward me, slow enough that it didn't feel like an attack. direct enough that my body still noticed every inch. He was bloody, barefoot, controlled in the way storms were controlled before they ripped roofs off houses. "You know Willow Creek," he said. "Yes." "You know the old staff routes, patient halls, weak exits." "Yes." "Then you are more valuable alive on comms than trapped in Tyler's hands." My jaw clenched so hard it hurt. "Do you hear yourself? Valuable? Useful? God, you alpha dickheads really do share one personality and a vocabulary app." His gaze didn't waver. "If you come, Tyler wins before I reach the door. If I stay, Malik might think I abandoned him." Something flickered across Eric's face. Not pity. Good. I would have hated him for pity. "He knows you hurt him," Eric said. "He knows you're fighting." That almost broke me. I looked back at the screen where the red dot had vanished into the service tunnels beneath Willow Creek. Malik was under that place, under a hospital that should have been dead and empty, under the memory of bleach-stained floors, flickering lights, and nurses who spoke over him like disability had made him furniture. My fingers dug into the headset Daniel had pushed toward me. "If he dies down there..." I couldn't finish. Eric stepped closer. "He won't. You don't get to promise that. I get to promise what I will do." His voice dropped. "And I will tear that place open." For half a second, the room disappeared. There was only Eric Anderson looking at me like my brother's life had become his personal war. I hated how much I wanted to believe him, so I did what I always did when something hurt too much. I got mean. "Fine." I shoved the headset over my ears. "But if you get lost in there, I'm not drawing you a little map with hearts on it." Caleb lifted one finger. "I would appreciate hearts on mine." "You're lucky I don't draw your obituary." "There she is," he said, then winced when Vanessa pressed a strip of medical adhesive hard against his ribs. "Stop flirting with death," Vanessa snapped. "You have 2 cracked ribs and a puncture wound." Caleb looked offended. "I'm not flirting with death. Death flirts with me because I'm charming." "Death has low standards," I said. Daniel tossed a set of keys to one of the fighters waiting by the door. "Armored convoy leaves in 4 minutes. 2 SUVs, 1 medical transport, 3 bikes scouting ahead. No headlights after Route 16. Eric turned to Vanessa. "You're with the medical team." "I know." "Daniel, command from the forward vehicle." Daniel nodded. "Caleb, I'm going." "You're bleeding." "I bleed handsomely." Eric's stare went flat. Caleb sighed. "I can fight. And I know Moore's men. Tyler likes sending the dumbest ones first because they die loud and make better distractions." Eric held his gaze for a moment, then gave one sharp nod. Everyone started moving. Except me. I stood there with Malik's last broken J still echoing in my ear and the headset heavy against my skull. Then Eric's hand brushed my elbow. Not a grip, not a claim, just contact. My whole body noticed anyway, traitorous bitch that it was. "You stay in the forward vehicle," he said. "Doors locked. Daniel's guards on you. You speak when you see something we need." "I know how instructions work." "Do you?" I glared up at him. His mouth didn't smile, but something almost human passed through his eyes. Then it was gone. We moved. Blackridge at night looked different after blood had touched it. The estate's beauty had gone sharp. Floodlights cut across the drive. Wolves ran alongside the vehicles in dark shapes, some on 2 legs, some on 4. The wounded were still being dragged inside, but the fighters heading out had the terrifying focus I was starting to understand. Pack. That word had sounded cultish to me before. Now it looked like people bleeding for each other without stopping to ask who deserved it. An armored SUV waited near the side entrance, engine low and mean. Daniel climbed into the front passenger seat with 3 tablets and a rifle. I slid into the back between 2 guards built like refrigerators with anger issues. Eric took one look at them. "If she opens that door," he said, "you stop her." I scoffed. "I'm right here." He kept talking to them. "If stopping her means restraining her, you restrain her." "Oh, fuck you." His eyes dropped to mine. "Later, When your brother is safe. My breath caught, the absolute nerve of him. Caleb coughed from outside the SUV. I am injured and did not need that mental image. Then stop listening, Eric said. The door shut before I could decide whether to curse him out or combust. The convoy rolled out. No sirens, no dramatic music. Just tires over gravel, wolves moving through trees, and the steady pulse of Daniel's equipment lighting the dark interior. I stared through the tinted window until Blackridge disappeared behind us. For the first 10 minutes, nobody spoke. Then Daniel's voice came through my headset. Jaynayah, walk me through Willow Creek. I closed my eyes. I didn't want to go back there. Too bad. Main entrance had a circular drive, but they'll avoid it. Cameras used to cover the lobby and admin desk, if any still work. Neurowing is on the east side. Malik hated it because the sun hit too bright in the mornings. Daniel typed. Service access? Behind the laundry drop-off. Old ramp down to the basement. It smelled like mildew. There was a staff elevator that jammed between floors if too much weight was on it. Stairwells? North stairwell was locked because a patient fell once. They kept a chair in front of it like that was safety. My nails bit into my palm. South stairwell leads to therapy rooms. Eric's voice came over the line, deeper than the others. And room 2311? My throat tightened. Basement neuro ward. Long hallway. Bad lighting. If they didn't renovate, the ceiling leaks near 2307. There's a linen closet across from 2311. I swallowed. Malik used to hide snacks there. Snacks? Caleb asked. He hated the pudding cups. Understandable. Hospital pudding is a war crime. I almost smiled. Almost. The vehicles slowed. Daniel lifted a hand, and everyone went quiet. Through the windshield, Willow Creek appeared between the trees like a corpse pretending to sleep. The building was huge and low, with dark windows and black mold crawling up brick. The old blue glass sign still stood near the entrance, cracked down the middle. Half the white letters were gone. Willow Creek Neuro Recovery Center. A place that had taken people in when families were desperate and returned them worse, quieter, easier to ignore. My stomach rolled. The convoy cut its lights. The world became moonlight, shadows, and breath. Eric stepped out of the lead vehicle. For a moment he looked human, tall, blood-streaked, beautiful in that dangerous, unfair way men like him had no right being beautiful. Then his bones snapped. I jerked despite myself. The shift was brutal. Not the soft, magical bullshit people would put in a movie. His body folded and broke and rebuilt itself with a sound that made my teeth ache. Skin split around black fur. His spine arched. Claws tore into dirt. His jaw elongated, teeth flashing white. And then the massive black wolf stood where Eric had been. His tail was red, not brown, not rust. Red, dark, and vivid under the moon, like blood had become fur. Every wolf around him lowered their heads. My heart slammed so hard it hurt. He turned once toward the SUV. Those gold eyes found me through the tinted glass. The wolf looked at me. Not through me. At me. Then he was gone, charging toward Willow Creek with Caleb, Daniel, and the fighters behind him. The first screams started 30 seconds later. I gripped the headset. There's a blind corner after the laundry ramp. If they restored power, cameras could be hidden above the old pipes. Daniel's voice crackled. Copy. 2 hostiles down. Gunshots cracked. A snarl answered. Something slammed hard enough to shake the distant windows. Caleb came over the line, breathless. For the record, Tyler hires like shit. Focus, Daniel snapped. I am focused. I'm focused on not getting stabbed in my favorite organs. Eric didn't speak. He didn't need to. The sounds told me enough. Growls, bone hitting concrete, men shouting. A wet, tearing noise I knew I'd hear in nightmares and probably not feel bad about. Daniel's voice cut through. We're in the basement corridor. I leaned forward. Leak near 2307. Watch the floor, it gets slick. A pause. Then Caleb. Holy shit, she's right. Linen closet across from 2311, I said. If Malik could move anything, he might have shoved something under the door. Look low. More static. Then silence. Too much silence. Daniel, I said. Nothing. Caleb? A burst of snarling ripped through the comms. One of the guards beside me shifted, claws punching through his fingertips. I reached for the door. He caught my wrist. Eric had given orders. I hated him. I hated that he'd been right to give them. Let go, I whispered. The guard shook his head. The comm crackled. Daniel's voice returned, strained. Room 2311 breached. I stopped breathing. Is he there? I asked. More silence. Then Caleb, softer than I'd ever heard him. We found him. The SUV door opened from the outside before I could process it. I stumbled out into the cold. Wait, one guard barked. Bite me. I ran. Not inside. Not far. Just to the edge of the cracked service road where Vanessa's medical transport waited, with its back doors open and a stretcher ready. The fighters emerged from the basement access first. Then Daniel. Then Caleb, limping badly now, one arm wrapped around his ribs. Behind them came the Black Wolf. Eric, and strapped against a board between two men, was Malik. My brother looked too thin beneath the emergency blanket. His head lolled to one side, lashes resting against his cheeks. An oxygen mask covered his mouth and nose. Tubing ran from his arm. There was dried blood near his temple, but his chest moved. Once. Again. A sound came out of me I didn't recognize. I ran to him. Malik. My hands hovered because I didn't know where I could touch without hurting him. Malik, baby. Hey, I'm here. I'm here. His eyelids fluttered. For a second, his gaze found mine through the fog of drugs and pain. Then it shifted past me. To Eric. The Black Wolf stood behind the stretcher, huge and blood-matted, gold eyes burning, red tail flicking once against the dirt. Malik's voice scraped out beneath the mask. Jay. I bent closer. Yeah? His eyes stayed on the wolf. Always, he swallowed weakly, bringing home strays. I broke, not prettily, not quietly. I folded over him and sobbed like someone had punched a hole through my chest. Vanessa eased me aside just enough to check his vitals, but she didn't make me move away completely. My fingers wrapped around Malik's hand, careful of the IV, desperate for warmth. Eric shifted back somewhere behind me. I heard bones crack, heard men look away, heard fabric rustle as someone handed him clothes. I didn't turn. Malik was alive. My brother was alive. That had to be enough for one breath. Vanessa's voice cut through the air. Load him. Now. They lifted the stretcher into the medical transport. I climbed in after him before anyone could tell me no. This time Eric didn't stop me. He got in beside me, shirtless under a hastily thrown-on jacket. Blood streaked across his jaw. The doors slammed. The ambulance lurched forward. I held Malik's hand with both of mine. You scared the shit out of me. His fingers twitched once. Yes. I laughed through tears. Asshole. Eric sat across from us, eyes fixed on Malik's monitors. Vanessa worked fast, adjusting oxygen, checking the IV, listening to his chest. For 5 minutes there was only the road, the engine, Malik's breathing, and my own stupid hope trying to crawl back into my body. Then the heart monitor skipped. Once. Twice. Vanessa's head snapped up. The alarm screamed. Malik's hand went slack in mine.
The monitor screamed before the ambulance cleared the tree line. 1 second, Jaynayah Cross had a pulse. Next, the machine lost its mind. Jaynayah's hand tightened around her brother's. Malik? Vanessa moved first, fast, controlled, ruthless in the way good doctors became when death stepped too close. Move her back, she ordered. Jaynayah didn't move. I did. I wrapped an arm around her waist and pulled her away from the stretcher just enough for Vanessa to work. Jaynayah fought me instantly, elbow driving back toward my ribs, nails digging into my forearm. Let me go. No, Eric, let me fucking go. Vanessa needs space. She needs to fix him. She is. The ambulance hit a dip in the road. Jaynayah stumbled against me, still fighting, still reaching for Malik with one hand like she could drag his soul back into his body by sheer force. My wolf clawed against my ribs. Not at her. For her. For the sound she made when Malik's hand went slack. It was not a scream. It was worse. It was a small, broken thing that should never have come from a woman who carried herself like the world could keep swinging, and she would swing back harder. Vanessa tore open a package with her teeth. Bag him. One of the medics squeezed oxygen into Malik's lungs, while Vanessa checked his pupils, then the line in his arm. Bradycardia, she snapped. Pressure's dropping. Push atropine, now. Jaynayah shook in my hold. What does that mean? No one answered her. She looked over her shoulder at me, eyes wet and furious. What does that mean? It means his heart is slowing, I said. Her face twisted. Don't say it like that. I won't lie to you. Then tell me he's not dying. I stared at her. That was the first time in years I hated the truth. Vanessa slammed her hand against the cabinet. Where is my atropine? The medic passed the syringe. Vanessa injected it into Malik's IV and watched the monitor with the focus of a woman ready to fight God in a locked room. The line stuttered, dropped, then jumped. One beat, another, a third. The alarm still shrieked, but beneath it Malik's heart found a weak rhythm. Jaynayah stopped fighting. Her body went boneless for half a second, and if I had not been holding her, she would have gone to the floor. I've got him, Vanessa said, voice sharp. Barely. Get us home faster. The driver did. The ambulance tore towards Blackridge like hell was chasing it. I kept one arm around Jaynayah until she shoved me away. I let her. She dropped back beside Malik's stretcher, caught his hand again, and pressed her forehead to his knuckles. Don't do that again, she whispered. You hear me? Don't you dare do that shit again. Malik didn't answer. I sat across from them, blood drying on my skin, my wolf still close enough to make my teeth ache. I had promised her I would tear Willow Creek open. I had. But bringing Malik out alive had not been the same as bringing him back safe. That distinction sat in the ambulance with us like a blade. By the time we reached Blackridge, the estate had transformed into a war hospital. Floodlights burned across the drive. Wolves moved in coordinated lines, carrying the wounded, weapons, supplies. The main entrance was still damaged from Tyler's first strike, but no one stopped to stare at broken glass anymore. Vanessa's team was waiting at the medical wing doors. They took Malik from the ambulance, and Jaynayah went with him until two nurses blocked her at the procedure room. No, she snapped. I'm going in. Vanessa turned on her. You are not. That's my brother, and I am the person keeping him alive. You can either stand outside and let me work, or I can have Eric carry you out while you cuss all to hell. Jaynayah looked at me like she might test that. I wanted her to, not because I wanted to restrain her, but because fury was better than the emptiness gathering behind her eyes. Instead, she stepped back. One step. It cost her. Vanessa disappeared behind the doors with Malik. Jaynayah stood there, staring through the glass, hands curled into fists at her sides. Blood stained her jeans. Malik's blood, rogue blood, mine. The difference meant nothing under those lights. This is my fault, she said. No. She laughed without humor. You alphas love that word. This is Tyler's fault. He took him because of me. He took him because he is a power-drunk piece of shit who thought hurting a vulnerable man would buy him a woman. Her mouth trembled. She bit it hard enough to make the skin shine. I was supposed to keep him safe. I looked at the closed doors. So was I. That made her turn. For once she had no sharp answer. We waited. Minutes became hours. Daniel came twice with updates. The tracker from Willow Creek had gone dark. Tyler's men had fled through the service tunnels, leaving 4 dead rogues and enough blood for my scouts to follow once daylight broke. The internal breach at Blackridge had been confirmed. Someone had used our network. Someone under my roof had opened a door. I received each piece of information with a nod and stored it away. Later there would be punishment. Later there would be blood. For now, Jaynayah sat in a chair outside Malik's room, with her elbows on her knees, staring at the floor, like if she blinked too slowly, he would vanish again. When Vanessa finally came out, Jaynayah stood so fast the chair scraped backward. "He's stable," Vanessa said. Jaynayah covered her mouth. "Do not mistake stable for healed," Vanessa continued. "He's weak, oversedated, dehydrated, and whatever Tyler's men gave him aggravated his respiratory system. But he is breathing on his own for now." "For now," Jaynayah echoed. Vanessa's expression softened. "He needs rest." Jaynayah nodded like she understood. She did not move. Vanessa sighed. "You can sit with him. No yelling, no shaking him, no threats against patients or staff." Jaynayah wiped at her face. "No promises on staff." Vanessa almost smiled. "Try." Malik looked smaller in the bed. That was the first thought I had when I entered behind Jaynayah. Wrong, maybe. Cruel, definitely. But true. Machines surrounded him. Tubes, monitors, a nasal cannula beneath his nose. His skin held the exhausted sheen of a body forced too hard for too long. Jaynayah sat beside him and immediately fixed his blanket. Not because it needed fixing, because she needed to touch something she could repair. I took the corner near the door, silent, watchful, uninvited, but not dismissed. She noticed. Of course she noticed. "You don't have to hover," she said. "Yes, I do." Her eyes slid to mine. "Because of Tyler. Because of Tyler. Because of the traitor. Because you haven't slept. Because if Malik wakes and asks where I am, I would prefer not to have Caleb answer." Despite everything, a thin sound escaped her, almost a laugh. She looked back at Malik. Her fingers moved over his blanket again. "Thank you," she said quietly. I stilled. She kept her gaze on her brother. "For getting him out. For not handing me over. For all of it." Her jaw worked once. "And if you tell anyone I said that, I'll deny it in court." Something tight in my chest eased and hurt at the same time. "You're welcome, Jaynayah." She didn't look at me, but her shoulders lowered a fraction. That was enough. Near dawn, Malik woke. His eyes opened slowly, unfocused at first, then sharpening when they found his sister. "Jay," he rasped. She leaned forward so fast her chair hit the bed. "Hey, don't talk too much." His mouth twitched. "Bossy." Dying dramatically in an ambulance gives me temporary authority. "Ugly crying too." Her breath caught. Then she narrowed her eyes. "Excuse me." His voice was barely there, but the humor in it survived. "You look like shit." Jaynayah laughed. A real laugh. Wet, cracked, beautiful in the ugliest way. "You look like the shit that shit stepped in," she said. Malik's lips curved. Mean. "You started it." He lifted his fingers weakly. She caught them at once. Vanessa entered to check him, and Jaynayah hovered over every adjustment like a guard dog with anxiety. Malik endured it for 5 minutes before looking at me. "Is she always this annoying here?" "Yes," I said. Jaynayah shot me a glare. "Don't bond with him over lies." Malik's eyes moved between us. Something knowing passed through his tired face. I did not like it. After Vanessa approved a few sips of water, Jaynayah held the cup and straw to his mouth with a gentleness that made my wolf go painfully still. Her mouth was sharp. Her hands were not. Malik drank, winced, then looked around the room. Bag? What bag? Jaynayah asked. My old one, from Meridian. It's probably an intake. My hoodie's in it. You're under 3 blankets. Still want it? She frowned. Malik, please, Jay. That single word did what no order could have done. Her resistance folded. She stood but looked at me immediately. Don't let anybody mess with him. No one will touch him. Not even you. I understood the first time. She pointed at Malik. And you, don't die while I'm gone. He blinked slowly. Rude. Accurate. She left the room with one of my guards outside the door, muttering about expensive hospitals that lost hoodies like they were socks in a dryer. The moment she was gone, Malik's smile faded. He looked at me. Close the door. I did. The soft click sounded too final. Malik stared at the ceiling for a moment, gathering breath. When he spoke again, the humor had thinned into something older than 23. She's going to act like she hates needing you, he said. Don't believe her. I stayed near the foot of the bed. I don't. Good. His throat worked. Jaynayah doesn't hate help. She hates the bill that always came after it. I said nothing. Malik turned his head slightly, enough to look at me. Our father taught her kindness was just another word for control. So yes, she looks ungrateful. She looks hard. She looks like nothing touches her. His breathing hitched. I took one step forward despite myself. But she used to cry in the bathroom with the shower running so I wouldn't hear her, he continued. Used to skip meals and tell me she already ate. Used to stand between me and him like she was bigger than she was. My hands curled into fists. Raymond Cross was going to die badly. Not quickly, badly. She's not always fair, Malik whispered. Trauma doesn't make people polite. But she's good, Eric. She's so good it nearly killed her. The room seemed to shrink. Machines hummed. Malik breathed. Somewhere beyond the door, Jaynayah was walking back through my house, carrying a hoodie like it could save him. Then Malik said, I have 10 days. My blood went cold. What? Maybe less after tonight. I looked toward the monitors, then back to him. Vanessa said you were stable. Stable isn't living. It's just dying without making everybody panic. My wolf snarled beneath my skin. Does Jaynayah know? No. The answer came too fast. And you're not going to tell her. I went still. I do not lie to her. I'm not asking you to lie. I'm asking you not to steal my truth before I'm ready to give it. She deserves to know. I know what she deserves, Malik said. And for the first time, anger sharpened his weak voice. I'm the one leaving her. The words hit with quiet brutality. He shut his eyes, breathing through the effort. Doctors told me before Tyler took me. Vanessa knows. The Meridian team knows. I'm 23, legally grown. My medical information is mine. You should have told her. If she knows, she'll stop living before I'm even gone. His fingers tightened weakly in the blanket. She'll sit here and count my breaths like they're punishments. She'll spend every second trying to bargain with a body that already quit negotiating. I hated him for being right. Malik looked at me again. I need her to have a few days where she still believes she can save me. A silence stretched between us, heavy and unforgiving. Then he said, protect her, Eric. Not just from Tyler, not just from our father. His eyes held mine. Protect her from that part of herself that thinks being loved means owing something back. My voice came out rougher than I intended. I will protect her. No. Malik's mouth barely moved. Love her when she's mean. That's when she's scared. The words sank claws into me. Before I could answer, the door handle turned. Jaynayah stepped inside with the black hoodie clutched to her chest. Her gaze moved from Malik to me, then narrowed. "What did I miss?" she asked. Neither of us spoke. Her eyes fixed on my face, and the room became impossibly still. "Eric," she whispered, "what did my brother ask you to promise?" Jaynayah stood in the doorway, with Malik's hoodie pressed to her chest, staring at me like she could cut the truth out of my throat if I made her wait long enough. "What did my brother ask you to promise?" she asked again. Malik's fingers curled weakly against the blanket. I could hear his heart, too slow, too tired, still fighting. I could also hear Jaynayah's, fast, angry, terrified beneath all that attitude. Malik had been right. Her fear never came bare. It came dressed in teeth. "He asked me to keep you safe," I said. It was not the whole truth, but it was not a lie. Her eyes narrowed. "That's it?" "No," Malik rasped from the bed. "I also asked him to stop looking like somebody pissed in his coffee, but we can't all get miracles." Jaynayah turned on him. "You almost died twice in 6 hours. Do not waste your energy being a smartass. Then stop making it easy." She crossed the room and laid the hoodie over his chest with a gentleness that made my wolf go still. No hesitation, no sharpness in her hands. She lifted his arm carefully, tucked the sleeve around him, adjusted the blanket, then adjusted it again, though it had already been perfect the first time. Malik watched her with tired amusement. "You know I'm not 5, right? You're acting like it." "I asked for a hoodie, not a full hostage negotiation. You were kidnapped from a hospital by werewolf terrorists. You don't get tone privileges." His mouth twitched, so did mine, though I hid it. Jaynayah saw anyway. Her gaze snapped toward me. "Something funny?" "No. Your face said otherwise." "My face says many things. Mostly rich bastard with control issues." Malik's laugh came out as a breath and turned into a cough. Jaynayah was on him instantly, hand behind his shoulder, the other reaching for water. Vanessa appeared before Jaynayah could panic properly, checked his oxygen, listened to his chest, and gave Malik a look that would have made weaker men apologize. "You," Vanessa said to Malik, "need to sleep." He blinked. "Just woke up. I didn't ask for your review." Jaynayah held the straw to his lips. "Listen to the scary doctor." Vanessa arched her brow. "Scary." Jaynayah glanced at her, then looked away like the next words had to be dragged out with pliers. "Competent, scary." Vanessa softened by a degree. "I'll take it." A few minutes later, Malik drifted under again. Not unconscious, not gone, sleeping, though the machines surrounding him made every breath sound borrowed. Jaynayah sat beside him for another hour. She did not cry. She watched the rise and fall of his chest like she was on guard against death itself, ready to throw hands if it stepped through the door. Every few minutes, she fixed the blanket, smoothed the hoodie, checked his hand, looked at the monitor even though she did not understand half of what it told her. I stayed by the door. Carrying Malik's secret felt like holding a blade by the edge. 10 days, maybe less. The words had buried themselves beneath my ribs and refused to loosen. I had ordered men killed without losing sleep, built companies, bought silence, ended threats with enough money or blood to make the world behave. I understood power. This was different. There was no throat I could rip out that would give Jaynayah Cross more time. That helplessness made my wolf pace. After sunrise, Blackridge began putting itself back together. Wounded wolves filled the lower medical rooms. Vanessa moved between them with blood on her sleeves and murder in her eyes for anyone who tried to get up too early. Daniel locked down the estate network, Caleb complained loudly about his ribs until Vanessa threatened to sedate him and stitch his mouth shut. Rebecca had the kitchen running like an emergency command center, feeding fighters, children, guards, and anyone too shaken to remember they needed food. Jaynayah refused to sleep. I expected that. What I did not expect was what she did instead. She slipped out of Malik's room while he slept and found a mop. At first, I thought I had misunderstood. Then I watched her kneel in the west corridor, sleeves pushed up, scrubbing dried blood from the marble where one of Tyler's rogues had been dragged away. 2 house staff tried to stop her. She waved them off with a glare sharp enough to make both reconsider life. "You're not staff," one woman said carefully. "No shit." Jaynayah wrung out the rag into a bucket. "I'm also not decorative. Move." I stood at the end of the hall and watched her clean blood, that was not hers from a floor she had never chosen to live on. Daniel came up beside me, tablet in hand. "You want me to stop her?" "No. She's been awake too long." "I know. She's going to crash." "I know that too." Daniel glanced at me. "You're staring." "I'm observing." "That's the word we use now." I looked at him. He wisely returned to his tablet. Jaynayah scrubbed until the worst of the blood was gone. Then she stood, pressed a hand to her lower back, and carried the bucket toward the service door. A small girl peeked from behind Rebecca's skirt, the same one from the stairs, the one with the broken rabbit. Jaynayah saw her and stopped. The child lifted one hand in a cautious wave. Jaynayah looked down at the bloodied bucket in her grip, then back at the girl. "This is not a kid-friendly accessory. Don't get ideas." The girl smiled. "Is Mr. Bunny alive?" Jaynayah asked. The child held up the rabbit. "Barely," Jaynayah said. "Respect." Rebecca's mouth curved. Jaynayah shifted awkwardly, like softness was a room she kept entering by mistake. "You good?" The little girl nodded. "You sure? Because last night was a lot." Another nod, smaller this time. Jaynayah set the bucket down and crouched, keeping distance between them. "Yeah, me too." The girl stepped out from behind Rebecca and hugged her. Jaynayah froze, completely. Her hands hovered in the air as if she had been handed a bomb with instructions in another language. Then slowly, she touched the child's back. One brief pat, then another. The girl pulled away and ran back to Rebecca. Jaynayah stood quickly and grabbed the bucket, her expression daring anyone to mention it. No one did. I watched her walk away and understood, with a brutal clarity, what Malik had meant. She looked ungrateful because gratitude terrified her. Help had been a leash in her house. Love had come with bruises. Protection had been another word for ownership. So when someone offered anything without demanding payment, she did not know where to put the fear. She put it in her mouth. She made it sharp. Later, outside the medical wing, I heard her speak to Vanessa. I had not meant to listen. That was a lie. I listened to everything. Vanessa was washing her hands at the small sink near Malik's room. Jaynayah stood behind her, arms folded, chin lifted like the words might kill her if they came out wrong. "My brother's alive because of you," Jaynayah said. Vanessa looked at her through the mirror. Jaynayah shifted. "So, thank you." Vanessa dried her hands slowly. "You're welcome. If you make it weird, I'll deny it. Of course. And I still don't like hospitals. I didn't ask you to." Jaynayah nodded once, satisfied with the terms of emotional surrender, and went back into Malik's room. Vanessa caught my reflection. Her expression said nothing. Her eyes said everything. By afternoon, the tension in the house changed shape. The initial terror had settled into suspicion. Every hallway felt watched. Wolves who had known each other for years now paused before turning their backs. Doors that used to remain open were locked. Daniel's men rotated through the east guest corridor with quiet efficiency. The protected women gathered in the smaller sitting room off the kitchen, because Rebecca insisted no one should be alone while there was a traitor under our roof. I hated that term. Protected women, collected women, debts. People used words like cages and pretended they were descriptions. I had taken women from men who used money like rope, bought the debts, erased the interest, put walls between them, and whatever bastard thought desperation made a woman purchasable. Some stayed because leaving was harder than surviving. Some left after a month, some after years. None had ever been touched unless they asked for a handshake. Rumors preferred filth. They always did. Jaynayah entered the sitting room with a tray Rebecca had forced into her hands. Tea, sandwiches, soup for Rachel Bennett, who was 8 months pregnant and still looked ready to bite anyone who breathed too loudly near her belly. Jaynayah set the tray down near Rachel. Rachel looked up, wary. Jaynayah rubbed the back of her neck. About last night. Rachel's face closed. Jaynayah pushed through anyway. I yelled, a lot, near the kids, near you. Her mouth tightened. I was scared, but that doesn't make it cute. I'm sorry. The room went painfully quiet. Rachel blinked once, then placed a hand on her stomach. Thank you. Jaynayah nodded like the apology had cost actual blood. Ashley Parker, curled in the armchair near the window, watched her with gentle eyes. She was one of the women Raymond's world would have eaten alive if we had not intervened. Young, clever, still flinched at slammed doors, though she hid it well. You thought we were all here because of him, didn't you? Ashley asked. Jaynayah's defenses rose at once. I didn't say that. No, but you looked at us like we were his harem with trauma benefits. Caleb, seated by the fireplace with bandages around his ribs, choked on his drink. I looked at him. He shut up. Jaynayah's face tightened. I didn't know what to think. Ashley nodded. Most people don't. Men like Raymond Cross tell stories that make Eric sound like the monster because it helps them sleep after selling women to pay debts. Jaynayah went very still. Ashley leaned forward, elbows on her knees. Most of us never wanted Eric in that way. We wanted the locked door he put between us and the men who bought us. The words settled over the room. Jaynayah glanced toward me. For once she did not have an insult ready. I held her gaze, letting her see nothing but the truth. She looked away first, but slowly, not dismissing it, absorbing it. Rebecca broke the silence by handing Rachel more tea. And for the record, if Eric had touched anyone who didn't want him, I would have poisoned him years ago. Caleb raised his cup. To Rebecca's terrifying moral compass. Put your arm down before you reopen your stitches, Vanessa snapped from the doorway. He lowered it immediately. Yes, ma'am. For a few minutes, the room felt almost normal. Then Daniel entered. All conversation died. He did not look at the women first. He looked at me. That alone told me enough. We've confirmed the access point, he said. The transport code was routed through the east guest corridor. Whoever helped Tyler knew Malik's transfer schedule, Vanessa's override, and our internal relay. Rachel covered her mouth. Ashley whispered, "Oh God." Jaynayah's expression hardened. So someone in this house really did it. Daniel nodded. Yes. Caleb pushed himself upright, humor gone. You have a name? Not yet. I watched the room. Fear had a scent. So did guilt. Most of the women smelled afraid, angry, confused. Natural reactions. Expected. Then Daniel said, Tyler Moore didn't guess. He was told. A mug slipped from Lauren Hill's hands. It shattered against the floor. The sound cracked through the sitting room like a gunshot. Lauren stared down at the broken ceramic, her breathing suddenly too fast, her fingers trembling at her sides. She did not look at Daniel. She looked at Jaynayah, then at me, and beneath the sharp scent of fear spilling from her skin, my wolf caught something else. Recognition. Lauren whispered, "I'm sorry," though no one had accused her of anything. Every head turned. Jaynayah's eyes narrowed. Daniel's hand moved toward his weapon, and I realized the traitor under my roof might have just stopped hiding.
Celeb's point of view.
The mug hitting the floor sounded louder than the attack sirens, maybe because everybody in that sitting room had been waiting for something to break. Porcelain shattered across the hardwood. Tea splashed over Lauren Hill's shoes. Her fingers stayed curled in the air like she was still holding the handle, like her body hadn't gotten the message that she'd already dropped the damn thing. "I'm sorry," she whispered. No one moved. Not Rebecca, not Rachel, not Ashley, not Jaynayah, who stood near the tray with her shoulders squared and her eyes narrowed in that way that said she was 2 seconds from asking a question nobody wanted answered. Eric didn't blink. That was the worst part. When Eric Anderson got quiet, smart people found religion. Daniel's hand rested near his gun. Mine wanted to, but Vanessa had wrapped my ribs so tight I was one deep breath away from seeing my ancestors, and she'd taken most of my weapons after declaring me medically irritating. Unfair, but not inaccurate. Eric looked at Lauren. "Daniel." Lauren's head snapped up. "Eric, please." "Not here," he said. His voice wasn't loud. Didn't need to be. The wolf underneath it had enough teeth to make the whole room remember what kind of house we were standing in. Jaynayah shifted, just slightly. I saw it because I was watching her. Not in the way people probably thought I was watching her. She was beautiful, sure. Anybody with eyes and a pulse could see that. But she was Eric's almost something, even if both of them were too emotionally constipated to put a name to it yet. And I liked my throat attached to my body. I watched Jaynayah because she noticed things the rest of us tried not to. Right then, she wasn't looking at Lauren like a traitor. She was looking at her like a woman who knew what fear did when it had your back against a wall. Daniel stepped forward. "Lauren, come with me." Lauren's eyes filled, but she didn't cry. That somehow made it worse. I said I'm sorry. Rebecca took one small step toward her, then stopped herself. Eric caught it. No one touches her except Daniel. A couple of the younger wolves stiffened. Eric's eyes flashed gold. That was not a suggestion. The room obeyed. Daniel guided Lauren out, not rough, but firm enough that nobody could pretend she was leaving by choice. Her scent trailed behind her. Fear, guilt, and something sour underneath both. Secrets always smelled uglier once they started sweating. The second she was gone, everybody began breathing again. Jaynayah turned toward Eric. "Is somebody with Malik?" "Yes," he said. "Vanessa's nurse and 2 guards." "Good." That was all she said, but her hands clenched once at her sides before she forced them open. I recognized that move. I used it every time I wanted to hit something and had been told by a doctor with very sharp eyes that if I reopened my wound, she'd staple my dick to my thigh. Vanessa did not make empty threats. Eric and Daniel disappeared into the security wing with Lauren. Rebecca herded the women out of the sitting room. Rachel moved slower than everyone else, one hand on her belly, jaw tight. Jaynayah watched them go. Then she looked at the broken mug on the floor. "I'll clean it," she said. Rebecca stopped. "You don't have to." "I know. That means you can stop doing things no one asked you to do." Jaynayah shot her a look. "You always this bossy?" Rebecca smiled faintly. "Only with girls who think guilt is a personality." I coughed. Bad choice. Pain lit up my side like someone had shoved a hot poker between my ribs. I bent over, wheezing, which really ruined the image I was trying to maintain as a wounded but dignified warrior. Jaynayah arched a brow. "You good, Brooks?" "Fantastic," I rasped. "Just communing with my internal bleeding." Vanessa appeared in the doorway like she'd been summoned by stupidity. "You do not have internal bleeding." "Emotionally, I do." "You're going back to bed." "I'm allergic to bed rest." "You're allergic to following instructions." Jaynayah picked up a piece of porcelain with a napkin. He does give off neglected golden retriever energy. I pointed at her. That was hurtful and specific. Then grow as a person. Vanessa took me by the elbow and steered me toward the hall. Medical wing, now. I went because I respected Vanessa. Also because she had my painkillers. 3 hours later, I escaped. Not escaped. More like strategically relocated without permission. There was only so long a man could sit in a medical bed listening to old Mrs. Keller snore from the next room and watching Vanessa glare every time he tried to scratch under his bandage. My ribs ached, my puncture wound throbbed, and the estate felt like it had swallowed a storm and was waiting to see where the lightning would hit. So I went where I always went when things got too quiet. The training room. Blackridge's lower gym smelled like rubber mats, sweat, steel, and old violence. Homey, in a fucked up way. The overhead lights buzzed. Half the weapons racks had been cleared for the fighters still on patrol. Someone had left a punching bag swaying gently like it had been hit recently and with a lot of personal resentment. Jaynayah stood in front of it. Of course she did. Her hair was tied back, sleeves pushed up, jaw set. She hit the bag again. Hard enough to make it jump, badly enough to make my hand hurt in sympathy. Your wrist is going to snap before the bag apologizes, I said. She didn't turn. Thought you were supposed to be dying dramatically in bed. I'm too handsome to die horizontal. Debatable. She hit the bag again. I winced. Okay, no. Stop. For the love of functioning joints. I didn't ask for a lesson. And yet the universe gave you me. That explains why it's such a bitch. I stepped onto the mat slowly, one hand against my ribs. You want to hurt something? Fine. But if you break your own hand, Vanessa will blame me because I'm nearby and charming. Vanessa blames you because you look blamable. Also true. I nodded at her stance. Feet wider, weight centered. Don't throw from your shoulder like you're in a parking lot outside a club. She glanced at me. You spent a lot of time in club parking lots? Not since Eric became rich enough to buy his problems indoors. That got the smallest twitch from her mouth. Progress. She adjusted her feet and I circled at a safe distance. If a wolf grabs you, you are not winning with strength. I know that hurts your pride, but your pride is not a weapon. My pride has stabbed plenty of men. Emotionally, yes. Physically, no. I lifted a finger. Eyes, throat, ears, knees, groin. A dick is a universal off switch if you hit it with enough conviction. She finally looked at me fully. That sounds like something you learned personally. I am a generous teacher because I have known pain. Lucky pain. I grinned. There she is. She rolled her eyes, but the tension in her shoulders eased by half an inch. We worked for a while. Nothing heavy. I wasn't stupid, no matter what Daniel wrote in incident reports. I showed her how to slip a wrist hold, how to drop her weight instead of yanking backward, how to use an attacker's expectation against him. She learned fast. Not cleanly, not gracefully, but fast. People who grew up surviving usually did. When I caught her wrist and stepped behind her, she reacted before I finished explaining. Her heel drove back toward my shin, elbow coming up from my ribs. I twisted away just in time. Mostly. Jesus fuck, I hissed, clutching my side. She froze. Shit, I'm sorry. The apology came out too fast, too scared, like she expected punishment to follow the accident. I straightened slowly. Relax. You missed the cracked rib and hit the insulted one. Her face shut down. I said I was sorry. I know. I softened my voice. I'm not mad. She looked away. For a second, the room wasn't funny. Then I ruined it on purpose. Also, if you kill me, Eric will be annoyed. He hates paperwork. He'd survive. Physically, yes. Emotionally? Questionable. Her eyes narrowed. Why do you keep doing that? Breathing? Usually against medical advice. Joking about him. About me. About whatever the hell this is. Ah, there it was. The thing everyone kept sniffing around but nobody wanted to say too loud. I leaned against the wall because my ribs were starting to sing opera. Relax, princess. I'm not flirting with you. I like my throat attached to my body, and your billionaire wolf already looks at me like he's measuring my coffin. Her eyebrows lifted. Good. I'd hate to be responsible for lowering the pack's average IQ. I barked a laugh and immediately regretted being alive. She watched me suffer with deep satisfaction. Worth it, I wheezed. And for the record, I like annoying Eric because Eric has been emotionless for too long. That man is nothing but emotion. He just hides it under expensive shirts and threats. Exactly. You make him feel things. I pointed at her. It's disturbing. I support it. She grabbed a towel and threw it at my face. I caught it badly. Abuse of the injured. Therapy from a bruised golden retriever is where I draw the line. I'm more of a wolf with golden retriever tendencies. You're a headache with legs. But a platonic headache, I said. Important distinction. Her mouth twitched again, then faded. She looked toward the door, toward the halls that led back to the medical wing. Back to Malik. You think Lauren did it? She asked. I exhaled. I think she knows something. That's not what I asked. No, it's the answer I can give without lying. Jaynayah wrapped her hands around the towel and twisted. She looked scared. Guilty people get scared. So do cornered people. That sat between us. I thought about Lauren's trembling hands, her whispered apology, the way she'd looked at Jaynayah first, not Eric. Fear can explain betrayal, I said. Doesn't erase the bodies it leaves behind. Jaynayah nodded, but her eyes stayed distant. No, it doesn't. The door opened before either of us could say more. Daniel stood there, face grim, phone in hand. His gaze dropped to my wrapped ribs. Vanessa know you're here? No, I'm not telling her. You're my favorite. I need your nose. That's usually how great romances start. Daniel did not blink. Tough crowd. Jaynayah straightened. What happened? We found the hidden access road Tyler's wolves used, Daniel said. East Ridge, old landscaping route. Cameras were looped for 17 minutes. Her jaw tightened. Inside help. Yes. Daniel looked at me. Eric is questioning Lauren. I want another scent read before Rain wipes the road clean. Jaynayah took one step forward. Daniel shook his head. No. She opened her mouth, then stopped. I saw the fight in her. Saw her want to argue, to push, to prove that staying back didn't mean being useless. Instead, she swallowed it. Fine, she said. But if either of you find something, you tell me. Daniel looked surprised. So did I. She scowled. Don't make that face. I'm not feral every day. Could have fooled me, I said. She pointed at my ribs. Want me to finish what Tyler started? See? Growth. Daniel and I left before Vanessa could track my disobedience by scent. The East Ridge sat beyond the old garden walls, where Blackridge's manicured wealth surrendered to thick woods and wet earth. Dusk had crawled in by then, purple and heavy, clouds pressing low over the trees. 2 scouts waited near the broken chain at the old service route. The road itself was barely a road anymore, more like a scar through the woods. Tire tracks cut through mud. Branches were snapped at shoulder height. Rogues had come this way fast and careless, drunk on borrowed access. I crouched near the gate and breathed in. Rogue stink hit first. Sweat, wet fur, cheap cigarettes, blood, adrenaline. Tyler's men smelled like violence without discipline. Underneath that came engine oil from the transport, damp leaves, disturbed soil, and the faint metallic bite from tools used to cut the outer lock. I moved deeper. My ribs complained. I ignored them. Another scent clung near the post where the camera relay box had been opened. Not rogue, not patrol, not one of Daniel's security team. Soft laundry soap, lavender sage lotion. Fear sweat? My stomach dropped. I knew that scent. I had smelled it in the sitting room when a mug shattered across the floor. I looked at Daniel. His expression hardened before I said a word. The line between fear and treason had just gotten real damn thin. I touched the opened relay box and breathed in again just to be sure. Then I said the name neither of us wanted to hear. Lauren Hill was here.
Malik slept like the machines had bullied him into it. His lashes rested against his cheeks, his mouth slightly parted beneath the oxygen line. One hand curled on top of the blanket like he was holding on even in sleep. I sat beside him with my knee bouncing so hard, Vanessa threatened to sedate me if I shook the bed again. You sedate me and I'll haunt your ass, I told her. Vanessa didn't even look up from his chart. I've worked double shifts in emergency medicine. You are not scarier than hospital administration. Rude. Accurate. I fixed Malik's blanket because it had shifted half an inch. Then I fixed his hoodie. Then I checked the monitor for the 100th time, even though the numbers still looked like alien math and emotional terrorism. Vanessa sighed. Jaynayah. What? He's stable. Stable is a fake word doctors use when they don't want families throwing chairs. It is also the word I use when your brother's heart is beating on its own, and I would like to keep it that way. That shut me up. For maybe 4 seconds. Then the door opened. Daniel stepped in first, muddy boots, tight jaw, that soldier-still look that made my stomach drop before he even spoke. Caleb came behind him, one hand pressed against his ribs, face drawn under the grin he was trying and failing to wear. Eric entered last. Of course he did. Like bad news had hired a bodyguard. His eyes found Malik first, then me. Something passed through his face too quickly to name. Guilt, maybe. Or the heavy thing he'd been carrying since whatever conversation Malik and him had behind that closed door. I still hadn't forgotten that shit. What happened? I asked. Caleb leaned against the wall. Good news, I found the scent. That's your good news face? No, this is my tragically handsome while wounded face. Very different. Caleb, Eric said. The humor slid off Caleb like water from glass. He looked at me. Lauren Hill was at the access road. The room went cold. Not temperature cold. Worse. That kind of cold that gets under the skin when a truth finally stops pretending. Lauren. The woman with trembling fingers and the shattered mug. The one who whispered sorry like she had already been caught by God. I stood slowly. Where is she? Security wing, Daniel said. I looked at Malik. His chest rose, fell, rose again. You stay here, Eric said. I laughed, because apparently my survival instinct had left the building. I know you didn't just try to tell me what to do. His gaze sharpened. I did. Cute, very alpha. Does it come with a little chest-beating soundtrack? Jaynayah. No, she looked at me when she said sorry. Not you, me. I stepped closer, lowering my voice because Malik was sleeping, and because if I got too loud, the fear would show. She helped Tyler take my brother. I'm going to hear why. Eric stared down at me. I stared right back. For a second, the room forgot everyone else existed. Then Malik rasped from the bed. If you two are done, I fucking aggressively. My entire soul left my body. Caleb made a strangled noise and grabbed his ribs. I should not laugh. I am injured. I spun toward Malik. You were asleep. Was trying. His eyes cracked open. Hard with all the sexual tension and threats. There is no sexual tension. Malik blinked slowly. Even Vanessa looked unconvinced, the traitor. Eric's mouth did not move, but something infuriatingly amused touched his eyes. I pointed at Malik. Go back to sleep before I unplug something important. Don't kill the traitor, Malik whispered. My throat tightened. I bent and kissed his forehead before I could talk myself out of softness. No promises. His fingers twitched against the blanket. Jay. I closed my eyes once, then nodded. When I turned back, Eric was watching me differently again, like he could see every piece I kept trying to shove behind jokes and profanity. I hated it. I also didn't, which was its own personal crisis. The security wing sat below the main floor, past 2 locked doors and a corridor that smelled like steel, concrete, and secrets. Blackridge had a lot of expensive shit upstairs. Marble floors, old wood, art that looked like rich people paid millions for emotional rectangles. But down here, Eric's money stopped pretending to be pretty. This part of the house existed for truth. Or blood. Maybe both. Lauren sat at a metal table inside a glass-walled interrogation room. She wasn't chained. Somehow that made her look smaller. Her hands were folded in front of her, knuckles tight, hair falling loose around her face. There were 2 guards outside the room and Daniel by the door. Rebecca stood farther down the hall, arms crossed tight over her chest. Ashley was with her, crying quietly. I looked at Eric. They should go. He gave Daniel a nod. Daniel guided them away, gentle but firm. Rebecca hesitated, eyes on Lauren through the glass. She ate in my kitchen, Rebecca whispered. Lauren heard her, her face crumpled for half a second. Then the door shut between them. Eric entered first, Daniel followed. Caleb stayed near the wall, which meant he was either in pain or smart enough to avoid standing too close to Eric when murder was on the menu. I sat across from Lauren before anyone could tell me not to. Her eyes lifted to mine. I'm sorry, she said. If that fixed anything, my life would be a Hallmark movie with better hair. She flinched. Good. Bad. I didn't know. Eric remained standing behind me. I could feel him there, all heat and violence wrapped in control. Daniel set a tablet on the table. Camera relay at the East Ridge. Your scent was on the box. Your access credential opened the guest corridor terminal at 2:13 a.m. The Anderson medical transport code was transmitted from that same terminal 6 minutes later. Lauren stared at the tablet. Do not waste my time, Eric said. The room seemed to shrink around his voice. Lauren swallowed. I did it. There it was. No dramatic denial. No bullshit. Just 3 words and a crack in the floor beneath all of us. My hands went numb. You helped Tyler take Malik, I said. Tears filled her eyes but didn't fall. Yes. My chair scraped back half an inch before I caught myself. Caleb shifted. Eric did not. Why? I asked. Lauren pressed both hands flat to the table like she needed something solid under her. He has my sister. The anger in my chest stumbled. I hated that. I didn't know Tyler still knew where she was, Lauren said quickly, words rushing now. When Eric brought me here, I thought Sophie was safe with my aunt in Ohio. I thought I'd cut every line. Then Tyler sent me a video. My stomach turned. Not because I needed details. Because I already knew how men like Tyler made videos, how they turned someone you loved into a message, how they understood fear better than language. She was tied to a chair, Lauren whispered, silver wire around her wrists. She's not a wolf, she's human, but he knew I wouldn't know if it mattered. She was bleeding. He said if I didn't send the code, he'd start mailing her back to me in pieces. No one spoke. The overhead light hummed. Lauren looked at me then, and the shame in her face was so naked it made me angry all over again. I told myself he only wanted leverage, she said. I told myself he wouldn't kill Malik because dead hostages don't bargain. My brother crashed in an ambulance, I said. I know. He could still die. I know. No, you don't. My voice dropped. You don't get to know that like I know that. You don't get to sit there and make yourself the tragic middle of this when Malik is upstairs breathing through plastic because you opened a door. Lauren began crying then, silently, no pretty sobs, just tears spilling down her face while she sat there and took it. I'm sorry, she whispered. I wanted to slap her. I wanted to hug her. I wanted to drag Tyler more into the room by his dick and staple it to the table until everybody got a turn asking questions. Eric moved. Not much. Just 1 step. But every wolf in the room felt it. Daniel straightened. Caleb stopped breathing loud. Lauren's eyes widened as Eric's claws slid out, black and sharp at the ends of his fingers. Pack law is clear, Eric said. Treason during active conflict, conspiracy with an enemy alpha, harm caused to protected guests and members under my roof. Lauren closed her eyes. She knew what he meant. Maybe I did too. Death. Or something close enough to make the word jealous. Eric's voice went colder. You gave Tyler access to my home. I know. You put children at risk. A sob broke through her throat. I know. You led him to Mullet Cross. I stood so fast the chair hit the floor behind me. Eric. His eyes were gold when they turned to me. Full wolf. No soft edges, no billionaire mask. Just the monster everyone had warned me about. And because my life was apparently one long middle finger to common sense, I stepped between him and Lormard. Daniel cursed under his breath. Caleb muttered, "Oh, fantastic. We're all dying." Eric stared down at me. "Move." No. She betrayed Blackridge. I heard the fucking confession. I was sitting right here. She could have gotten you killed. And killing her fixes that? His jaw flexed. The air thickened until it felt hard to breathe. I lowered my voice. I'm not saying forgive her. I'm not saying give her tea and a cute little betrayal blanket. She broke my law. And Tyler broke her first. I pointed at Lauren without looking away from Eric. If fear made her stupid, then punish the fear too. Tyler is the one holding the leash. Eric's eyes burned. Do not mistake coercion for innocence, he said. I'm not. Don't mistake punishment for justice just because it bleeds. That hit him. I saw it. Not enough to calm him completely, but enough for the gold in his eyes to flicker. I took a breath. She pays. She tells us everything. She loses access, freedom, whatever your wolf court requires. But if you kill every scared woman who does what a powerful man forces her to do, then men like Tyler get to keep using us as disposable weapons. My voice cracked on the last word. I hated that too. Eric heard it. Of course he heard it. His claws slowly retracted. Not gone. Controlled. Barely. He looked past me to Lauren. You live because you are more useful breathing. Lauren sagged in the chair. Do not thank me, he said. You have not been spared. You have been delayed. Cold, yes, but not wrong. I picked up my chair and sat again because my knees suddenly remembered trauma had interest rates. Daniel opened a file on the tablet. Tell us everything Tyler wanted. Lauren wiped her face with trembling fingers. The code. Malik's transfer time. The East Corridor shift change. He wanted camera loops, but only for 17 minutes. He said longer would make Daniel suspicious. Daniel's mouth tightened. He asked about the safe room, she continued. I told him I didn't know the access sequence. I swear I didn't. Eric's voice cut in. What else? Lauren hesitated. That hesitation made every nerve in my body stand up. Lauren, I said. She looked at me, and this time her fear was different. He said this wasn't the final move. Taking Malik was pressure. He wanted you panicked. He wanted Eric distracted. He succeeded, Caleb said darkly. Lauren shook her head. Not enough. He said the next move wasn't coming from outside Blackridge. Eric went very still. My pulse kicked. What does that mean? I asked. Lauren stared at the table. He said you would never run to him willingly. No shit. So he needed someone you still hated enough to confront. The room tilted. I already knew before she said it. Maybe I'd known since Tyler found Malik. Since my father's rot crawled into Blackridge behind me. Since every bad thing in my life had Raymond Cross's fingerprints somewhere on the handle. Lauren lifted her eyes to mine. Jaynayah, she whispered. Your father didn't just sell you once. My hands curled around the edge of the table. Lauren's voice broke. Raymond has been meeting Tyler again. Raymond has been meeting Tyler again. Lauren's words didn't explode. They sank. Right through the table. Right through the concrete floor. Right through whatever part of me had still been stupid enough to believe my father had run out of ways to sell me. For a second, nobody spoke. Eric stood behind me, silent, but the whole room changed around his anger. The air tightened. Daniel's hand moved closer to his weapon. Caleb stopped pretending his ribs didn't hurt. I stared at Lauren. My father, I said slowly, met with the man who kidnapped Malik? Lauren nodded, tears sliding down her face. Yes. And you knew? I found out after Tyler contacted me. He said Raymond was useful because you'd still react to him. A laugh came out of me. Small, dead, ugly. Of course Raymond was useful. Roaches always survived long enough to crawl into the next disaster. Eric's voice cut through the room. Where is he? Lauren swallowed. Tyler told him to come to Blackridge tonight. Raymond thinks he can bargain. Bargain with what? Caleb muttered. His sparkling personality? Daniel's phone vibrated before Lauren could answer. He glanced down, then his face hardened. South Service Gate, black Lincoln, driver alone. My body went still. The cunt had actually come. Eric looked at me. You stay with Malik. No, Jaynayah. That man spent my whole life making decisions about me in rooms I wasn't allowed to enter. I stood, my chair scraping backward. He doesn't get another one. Eric's jaw tightened. For a second, I thought he would refuse. Order me upstairs, lock the damn door if he had to. Instead, he stepped closer, voice low enough only I could hear. Be angry. Be afraid, but do not confuse me with the men who sold you. The words hit harder than I expected, because I had been ready to fight him, because part of me always stayed ready. I looked up at him, at the gold threading through his eyes, at the violence he was holding back like a chained animal. I know who sold me, I said. Take me to him. The south entrance was less pretty than the front of Blackridge. No sweeping staircase, no rich man chandelier, just reinforced doors, security glass, and enough armed wolves to make a human rethink every life choice that brought him there. Raymond Cross stood between two guards with his hands zip-tied in front of him. He looked smaller than I remembered. That pissed me off. Monsters should look like monsters. They should come with horns, claws, something obvious. They shouldn't have tired eyes, a wrinkled shirt, and the same mouth that used to tell me I was too much trouble to love properly. His expensive watch was gone. His tie hung loose around his neck. Sweat darkened his collar, and the smell of cheap liquor clung to him like a confession. When he saw me, his face shifted. Not shame, relief. Like I was still the idiot daughter who would stand between him and consequences. Jaynayah, he said. Baby girl, tell these animals there's been a misunderstanding. I stopped several feet away. Eric stood at my right, Daniel at my left. Caleb leaned against the wall behind us, one hand on his ribs, eyes unusually cold. Misunderstanding, I repeated. Raymond tried to smile. It looked rotten. Yes, you know how these people are. They twist things, make deals sound dirty. You sold me to Eric. His smile twitched. I settled a debt. You sold me. I kept a roof over your head. You gambled our rent. I paid Malik's bills. You abandoned him in a hospital and stopped visiting when the sympathy ran out. His eyes sharpened. There he was. My father. Not the sweating man in zip ties. The one underneath. Mean. Small. Always reaching for the nearest bruise. You always were ungrateful, he snapped. Do you know what it costs to keep a cripple alive? The room went silent. Dead silent. Something inside me turned to ice. Not the numb kind, the clean kind. I took one step toward him. Say that again. Raymond's nostrils flared. You heard me. I did. I'm giving you a chance to prove you're not as stupid as you're worthless. Daniel made a soft sound that might have been a cough. Raymond's face darkened. Don't you speak to me like that. I am your father. No, I said. You are the reason I learned how to flinch quietly. His mouth opened. I didn't let him have the room. You sold your daughter, abandoned your son, and broke your wife. You don't get to call anyone selfish. The words left my mouth, and the floor didn't open. Lightning didn't strike. I didn't turn into dust. All those years I thought saying the truth would destroy me. Turns out it only destroyed the last little thread he'd kept tied around my throat. Raymond stared at me like he didn't recognize me. Good. I didn't want to be the girl he knew. You think he cares about you? Raymond spat, nodding toward Eric. You think a wolf with that much money wants anything from you besides what's between your legs? You always confuse attention with value. Eric moved. I barely saw it. 1 second he was beside me. The next, Raymond slammed into the wall hard enough to make the glass tremble. Eric had him by the throat, claws out, gold eyes burning bright enough to make every wolf in the hall lower their gaze. Raymond choked, feet kicking uselessly. "Eric," Daniel warned. Eric didn't hear him. Or he did and didn't give a shit. His claws pressed deeper. A bead of blood slid down Raymond's neck. Raymond's eyes bulged. I should have felt satisfied. I wanted to. God, I wanted to. But seeing Eric's hand around my father's throat didn't feel like freedom. It felt like Raymond had found one last way to make someone else carry his filth. "Eric," I said. Nothing. I stepped closer. Daniel shifted like he might stop me. Caleb shook his head once, warning him not to. I touched Eric's arm. Every muscle in him was locked. Hot. Shaking with restraint. "Don't," I said softly. His eyes cut to mine. "He sold you." "I know." "He hurt you." "I know." His voice was rough, almost inhuman. "He deserves death. He deserves a lot of things." I looked at Raymond's purple-red face, the panic in his eyes, the fear he'd always been so generous handing out finally crawling back into his own mouth. "But he doesn't deserve to turn you into his executioner." Eric's grip tightened once. Raymond wheezed. I kept my hand on Eric's arm. "He spent my whole life making men into weapons. I won't let him make you one too." The gold in Eric's eyes flickered. His breathing was heavy. His wolf was right there, furious and starving for blood. Then slowly his claws retracted. He released Raymond. My father dropped to the floor like a sack of shit, coughing and clutching his throat. Eric stepped back, but his voice stayed lethal. "Raymond Cross, you are in Blackridge custody for trafficking a protected woman, collusion with an enemy alpha, and conspiracy resulting in harm against this pack and its guests." Raymond coughed. "You can't." "I can," Eric said. "And I have." Daniel lifted his phone. "Your accounts were frozen 12 minutes ago. Your business partners have been notified of pending criminal exposure. 3 judges, 2 lenders, and a state senator have already denied knowing you." Raymond stared up at him. For the first time in my life, my father looked truly afraid. Caleb tilted his head. "Damn. Thoughts and prayers." "You can't do this," Raymond whispered. Eric's face was carved from stone. "I can do worse." A guard hauled Raymond to his feet. He looked at me then, desperate. "Jaynayah, come on. You wouldn't let them put your father in a cage." I almost laughed. "You put Malik in one for 11 years, I said. "You'll adjust." His face twisted. There was hate. Not disappointment, not love gone sour. Hate. The thing that had always lived in him, finally too tired to dress itself up as discipline. "You stupid bitch," he hissed. "You think Tyler is the problem? You have no idea what's coming." Eric took 1 step forward. Raymond flinched so hard even I enjoyed it. Daniel grabbed his collar. "Talk." Raymond's eyes darted around the hall, calculating what his information might buy. Still bargaining. Always bargaining. "Tyler has silver," he said. Every wolf in the hallway went rigid. Not tense, rigid. Eric's expression did not change, but something terrible moved behind his eyes. Raymond swallowed. "Not knives, not some old family stash. Crates, bullets, chains, powder bombs. Enough to gut this place if he gets inside." My stomach dropped. Daniel's voice went flat. "Where did he get it?" Raymond looked at Eric, then at me. His smile came back, bloody and shaking. From someone who wants Blackridge weakened. His voice lowered. Someone beyond Tyler's pack. Eric went very still. Raymond leaned forward as much as the guard allowed, eyes bright with nasty triumph. "I saw the seal on the crates," he whispered. "Black wax, silver crescent. Tyler isn't coming alone."
black wax, silver crescent. Raymond Cross smiled like a dying rat, proud of the disease it carried. I wanted to close my hand around his throat again and finish what I had started. My wolf was not interested in strategy, law, or restraint. It wanted Raymond's spine between its teeth. It wanted the man's blood on the floor where Jaynayah could see he would never sell her again. But Jaynayah stood beside me. Not behind me. Beside me. And she had asked me not to become her father's executioner. So I let the guards drag Raymond toward the lower cells, while he coughed, cursed, and tried to bargain with men who no longer heard him. Daniel's voice was low at my left. Black wax with a silver crescent. That's not Tyler's mark. No, I said. Caleb leaned against the wall, one hand pressed to his bandaged ribs. His usual grin was gone. That much silver doesn't move quietly. Somebody opened roads for him. Find them, I ordered. Daniel nodded once. I'll run it through every contact we have. Arms routes, council records, old pack seals. If anyone has used that crest before, I'll know. Lock down outbound communication from non-essential systems. Search every vehicle, every delivery, every guest room. Caleb exhaled. So just a normal relaxing evening at Blackridge. I looked at him. He lifted his free hand. Medical wing. Got it. No need to threaten my dick. Vanessa already has. When he limped away, Daniel stayed. His eyes moved past me to Jaynayah. She had not spoken since Raymond's confession. That concerned me more than her anger ever had. Jaynayah Cross loud was a blade. Jaynayah Cross silent was a wound refusing to bleed. She stared at the corridor where her father had disappeared, her chin lifted, her shoulders set like she was holding an entire collapsing house on her back. My wolf pressed against my skin, restless and furious, not only because she hurt but because I could feel it. Not guess. Feel. A deep, grinding ache had settled beneath my ribs the moment Raymond called her a stupid bitch. It was not mine. My anger had teeth. This was sharper, older. It belonged to the girl who had stood between her brother and a monster long before she understood monsters could wear wedding rings and fatherhood-like disguises. She turned her head slightly. Malik. One word. Everything in her moved toward him. I inclined my head. Go. Her eyes met mine. For an instant the hall, Daniel, the guards, the threat of silver and outside enemies, all of it narrowed to her face. Warm brown skin, tired eyes, mouth held hard because if it softened, the rest of her might follow. Don't kill Raymond while I'm upstairs, she said. I gave you my restraint once tonight. That wasn't an answer. No, I said. I will not kill him while you are upstairs. Her gaze searched mine, as if looking for the trick. There was none. She walked away without another word. My wolf followed her scent long after she disappeared. Daniel cleared his throat. I looked at him. Speak. You need rest. No. I knew that would be the answer. He tucked his phone into his pocket. Then you need to eat. No. Also expected. Anything else? Yes. If Tyler has silver powder bombs, shifting outside during the next attack could expose every wolf on the lawn. I know. And if someone beyond his pack is supplying him, this is no longer a border conflict. I know that too. Daniel's expression tightened. Then what don't you know? I looked toward the medical wing. I did not know how to protect a woman who had spent her life mistaking protection for ownership. I did not know how to keep Malik's secret without betraying her. I did not know what kind of alpha could command men, companies, armies of wolves, and still be helpless against the pain in one human woman's eyes. I don't know who gave Tyler the silver, I said. Daniel accepted the lie because he was loyal enough not to force the truth from me. He left to hunt the crescent seal. I went to the medical wing. The corridor smelled of antiseptic, blood, medication, and fear. Vanessa's domain. She had built order out of disaster after the attack, but exhaustion clung to the walls. Wolves slept in recovery rooms. A child whimpered behind one door. Somewhere, a monitor beat its steady, indifferent rhythm. I stopped outside Malik's room. Before I touched the handle, Jaynayah spoke from inside. "If you're going to brood in the hallway, at least come in where I can judge your posture." My hand stilled. I had made no sound. Humans did not hear me when I chose silence. Most wolves did not either. I opened the door. Malik slept beneath a grey blanket, oxygen line beneath his nose, his body too thin against the mattress. His breaths were shallow but even. Jaynayah sat beside him with one of his hands between both of hers. She did not look surprised to see me. That was the problem. "How did you know?" I asked. She lifted one shoulder. "Felt you." The words settled between us. Her fingers tightened around Malik's hand. "That's not normal, is it?" "No." "Great." She breathed a humorless laugh. "Because my life was getting dangerously uncomplicated." I stepped inside and closed the door softly. She watched Malik for another moment, then eased his hand back onto the blanket and stood. "Not in here." I understood. Whatever question had found her, she did not want to ask it beside her brother's bed. We walked to the small family waiting room at the end of the hall. It was empty, except for a sofa, a coffee table, and a lamp someone had forgotten to turn off. Rain tapped against the dark windows. Beyond the glass, Blackridge's grounds stretched into shadow and patrol lights. Jaynayah folded her arms. "Tell me what the fuck is happening." I remained by the door. "Be specific." Her eyes narrowed. "Do not rich man lawyer your way around this." Despite everything, my mouth almost curved. She pointed at me. "That, the watching, the growling, the way your wolf acts like Caleb breathing near me is a felony. The way I know when you're close before I hear you." Her voice dropped. "The way you looked when my father put his mouth on me. He called you a bitch. He's called me worse. He should not have lived long enough to call you anything." Something hot flared in her eyes. Not fear, not exactly. Recognition. "Is this some werewolf claim thing?" she asked. "Some fate bullshit? Did your wolf decide I'm yours and nobody thought maybe the human woman should get a vote? Because I swear to God, Eric, if my cunt has been assigned by the supernatural committee, I'm burning this whole mansion down." My wolf surged at the word, at the heat beneath it, the fury, the fear. I locked him down. "Your body has not been assigned to anyone," I said. "Then what is it?" "The beginning of a mate bond." She went still. I expected anger. I expected a curse thrown hard enough to draw blood. Instead, she whispered, "A mate." "Yes." Her laugh came out thin. "Of course. Because being sold once wasn't enough. Now the universe wants to put a bow on it." "No. Don't say no like that fixes it. It is not ownership. Men love saying that right before they lock the door." I stepped closer, then stopped when her shoulders tightened. That was the difference. Raymond would have kept moving. Tyler would have grabbed. I stopped. "If it is not your choice," I said, "it is not a bond. It is another cage." Her lips parted, but no words came out. I forced myself to continue, because she deserved the truth I had withheld. "My wolf recognized you early, before you trusted me, before you knew what Blackridge was, before you understood that I would not touch you unless you asked." Her throat worked. "I did not tell you because you had been brought to me as payment," I said. "You were angry, trapped, afraid for Malik, and surrounded by wolves. If I had told you fate wanted you too, It would have been one more chain dressed as destiny. Rain struck harder against the window. Jaynayah looked away. So you just decided to keep it from me? Yes. That's still a decision about me. It was a decision about myself. Her gaze snapped back. I chose not to use the bond, I said. Not to lean on it. Not to call your reactions instinct when they were trauma. Not to make my wolf's need your obligation. Her face changed then. Not softened. Jaynayah did not soften easily, but something in her stopped bracing for impact. And if I don't want it? She asked. My wolf hated the question. I answered anyway. Then you do not take it. That simple? No. The truth scraped on the way out. It would not be simple for me. My wolf would suffer. I would suffer. But I would not make that your burden. She studied me like she expected the lie to show itself eventually. If I leave, she pressed, I will make sure you are safe. If I choose someone else. My claws threatened under my skin. I held still. Then I learned not to kill him. A reluctant sound escaped her, almost a laugh, comforting. I said learn, not enjoy. This time the corner of her mouth moved. Barely, my wolf settled for the first time all night. Jaynayah noticed, her eyes sharpened. I did that. Yes. I didn't do anything. You stayed. The humor faded from her face. For a moment we stood in the low light, with all the things neither of us could afford to say pressing between us. Tyler, Raymond, silver weapons, Malik's fragile breathing down the hall. 10 days. The secret cut through me. She stepped closer. I should have moved back. I did not. Her scent reached me. Vanilla lotion faded beneath antiseptic, stress, and something warm that belonged only to her. Her fingers lifted slowly, giving me the same chance I had given her. Then she touched my jaw. My entire body went still. Not because I feared her hand, because I wanted it too much. Your eyes are doing the gold thing, she murmured. My wolf is close. Is he going to behave? For you, my voice roughened. He tries. Her thumb moved once against my skin. A small touch, devastating. Why me? She asked. Because my wolf has better sense than I do. That's a low bar. Yes. She huffed softly, but her gaze dropped to my mouth. The room changed. Heat moved through the bond, unformed and dangerous. Not command, not force. An invitation neither of us had spoken aloud. I could hear the catch in her breathing, the faster beat of her heart. My own control narrowed to the space between her lips and mine. Jaynayah, I said. A warning. A question. She lifted her chin. If you tell me this is my choice one more time, I'm going to assume you don't know what to do with one. My hand rose to her waist, then stopped just short of touching. Say yes, I said. Her eyes held mine. Then she whispered, yes. The door burst open. Vanessa stood there, breathless, her face drawn tight with urgency. Jaynayah jerked back. What? Vanessa's gaze went to her first, then me. It's Malik, she said. He's awake, and he's calling for you.
Vanessa's words killed whatever almost happened in that waiting room. Which was probably good. Probably. Because kissing Eric Anderson while my brother was down the hall hooked up to machines, my father was rotting in a basement cell, and Tyler Moore was somewhere polishing silver bullets, like a dramatic little dickhead felt like terrible decision-making. Unfortunately, my body had not gotten the moral memo. Eric's hand still hovered near my waist when I stepped back. The space between us felt too hot, too charged, like the air had teeth. It's Malik, Vanessa said again. He's awake. That broke me loose. I moved past Eric so fast my shoulder brushed his chest. The bond, if that was what we were calling the inconvenient supernatural bullshit now, pulled tight for 1 second. like an invisible thread hooked behind my ribs. I ignored it. Mostly. Moloch was sitting up when I got there, which meant Vanessa had either let him or lost a fight to a man with the physical strength of a damp paper towel and the stubbornness of a pissed-off mule. His oxygen line sat beneath his nose. His hair was flattened on one side. His eyes looked tired, but when he saw me, his mouth curled. "There she is," he rasped. "My favorite violent relative." I stopped beside the bed and touched his cheek before I could stop myself. "You scared the shit out of me." "Good. Builds character." "You have enough character. Try building white blood cells." He made a weak sound that was almost a laugh. Vanessa adjusted his IV with a warning look. "Small sips, no arguments, no dramatic speeches." Moloch blinked at her. "You're bossier than Jay." "She's licensed," I said. "I'm freelance." His gaze slid past me to Eric, who stood in the doorway like a dark omen in an expensive shirt. Moloch's mouth twitched again. "Did I interrupt something?" "No," I said immediately. Eric said nothing. Vanessa suddenly became very interested in the monitor. Moloch looked at me. "You're a terrible liar." "You're medically fragile. Don't provoke me." "Did you kill Dad?" The question landed without warning. I looked down at his blanket and smoothed a wrinkle that didn't matter. "No." "Did Eric?" "No." "Damn," Malik sighed. "I was hoping somebody got to have fun." I laughed, and it hurt. "He's in a cell," I said. "His accounts are frozen. His friends are pretending they've never heard his name. Daniel said even a state senator denied knowing him, which means Satan updated the group chat." Malik closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them again, something old and relieved sat there. "Good," he whispered. That one word did something to me. It loosened a knot I hadn't known was still tied. I sat beside him and took his hand. "I want to stay." "I know. I'm going to stay." "No, you're going to go help," I frowned. "Excuse me?" "You hover like a ghost with anxiety." His fingers squeezed mine weakly. "If Tyler is coming, go make yourself useful. You always were better at fixing disasters than watching them. I'm not leaving you. I'm surrounded by doctors, wolves, and one billionaire who looks like he'd bite through concrete if I coughed wrong." Moloch's eyes softened. "Go, Jay." I hated when he said things gently. Anger I could fight. Gentle went under the armor. I bent and kissed his forehead. "You need anything, you call me." "I need fried chicken." "Try again." "A new body." "Put it on the list." He smiled. "Love you." My throat closed. "Love you too, asshole." When I turned, Eric was watching me with that same unreadable expression he'd been wearing too often lately, like he knew something heavy and had swallowed it whole. I hated secrets. I hated that I was starting to trust him with them anyway. The war room had turned into the kind of place men loved when they were trying not to admit they were scared. Maps covered the central table. Screens showed camera feeds, property lines, old roads, tree cover, thermal scans. Daniel stood at one end with Caleb beside him, though Caleb had an ice pack strapped to his ribs and the deeply offended look of a man who had been medically bullied into sitting down. Rebecca had brought coffee and sandwiches no one was eating. Ashley sat in the corner with a notebook, writing down names of the women and children being moved closer to the safe room. Lauren was not in the room. Good. I understood why she'd done it. I did. But if I saw her face too soon, my sympathy might trip over my rage and break its neck. Daniel looked up when I entered. "Malik?" "Awake, annoying, alive." Caleb lifted his coffee. "Best kind of alive." Eric stepped in behind me, and every wolf in the room adjusted without meaning to. Spines straightened, voices lowered. The alpha had entered. "Me?" I walked to the table and looked at the map. "Why are you only tracking wolf movement?" Daniel paused. "We're not only, you are." I pointed at the screens. Scent trails, territory borders, patrol patterns, tree cover. All useful, sure. Very furry. But Tyler didn't get to Malik by running through the woods naked with his dick out. Caleb choked on his coffee. Daniel blinked. Eric's mouth did not move, but I felt his amusement anyway. fucking bond. I tapped the tablet. He used a medical transport code. A fake route. Human systems. Humans don't need claws to get through doors. We need badges, clipboards, uniforms, and the confidence of mediocre white men. Caleb raised a finger. As a mediocre white man, you are not helping. He lowered the finger. Fair. Daniel turned the tablet toward me. What are you seeing? I took that as permission and started digging. Hospital records first. Anderson Meridian Care had layers of security, but layers meant seams. Transfer approvals, ambulance dispatch times, third-party billing, medical supply vendors. Every system had a person on the other end who could be bribed, threatened, or bored enough to click the wrong thing. Pull every transfer request made within 48 hours before Malik disappeared, I said. Real, cancelled, duplicate, anything flagged as corrected. Daniel nodded to one of his security guys. Now deliveries, I continued. Food, medicine, laundry, prenatal supplies, diapers, oxygen tanks, maintenance crews. If it gets waved through a gate because everyone recognizes the logo, I want it checked. Rebecca looked up sharply. We have formula and medical linens coming at 6. Cancel the route, I said, or reroute it to a secondary checkpoint with armed inspection. Daniel typed fast. I pointed to the estate map. Fake ambulance routes, too. Human police won't stop flashing lights. Not if the paperwork looks official. Tyler already knows that. If he sends one vehicle screaming toward the front gate, half the cameras follow it while his real people slip through the ass end. Caleb leaned back slowly. That is disturbingly specific. I handled Malik's insurance appeals since I was 16, I said. Paperwork is just violence in a tie. No one argued. Smart room. I asked for Raymond's phone records next. Daniel pulled up a list of contacts, calls, encrypted messages, half-deleted trash my father probably thought made him look clever. Seeing his name on the screen made my skin crawl. There, I said, pointing. Hal Brenner, retired cop. Dirty as a gas station bathroom. Raymond used him when he needed police reports to disappear. Daniel's eyes sharpened. He works in private security now. Of course he does. Another name. Benny Sloan, bookie, owns tow trucks, burner phones, and 3 cousins stupid enough to move crates without asking what's inside. Eric's voice came from behind me. Silver? Maybe. I looked at the black wax crescent photo Daniel had pulled from Raymond's statement sketch. If Tyler has crates, somebody drove them. Human roads leave receipts. For the next 2 hours, I worked. Not because I owed Blackridge for kidnapping me. I hadn't forgotten that part. My first day here was still filed in my brain under what the actual fuck. But Malik was alive because these people had fought for him. Children had bled because Tyler wanted me. Women who had already survived men buying and selling them were moving mattresses into a safe room because danger had followed me through the gates. Maybe that wasn't my fault. Maybe Rebecca was right, but I could still do something about it. So I did. I helped Ashley build a human evacuation list with medical needs first. Pregnant women near the inner wall, kids paired with adults they trusted. No one alone in a panic. Wet towels and sealed vents in case Raymond's silver powder bombs came through the HVAC. Backup phone tree in case the estate system went dark. Daniel started listening to me with less suspicion and more grim interest. Caleb looked proud, which was annoying. Eric said very little, but I felt him watching. Finally, after my eyes burned from screens and my back ached from leaning over maps, I stepped into the hall for air. Eric followed. Of course he did. You're hovering, I said. You're swaying. I sway attractively. You have not eaten. I absorbed rage earlier, very filling. He handed me half a sandwich wrapped in a napkin. I stared at it. He waited. I took it because being stubborn was one thing, and passing out in a war room was another. We stood in the quiet hall while I ate 3 bites that tasted like cardboard and turkey. Eric didn't speak, didn't push, didn't make my gratitude easier by pretending it wasn't waiting in my throat like a bone. So I swallowed it. I know I act like help is an insult, I said. His gaze settled on me. It's not. I looked at the sandwich because eye contact felt too naked. I just spent my whole life learning that help comes with a receipt, So, thank you. For Malik. For not handing me over. For all of it. Silence. Then Eric said, "You're welcome, Jaynayah." No joke, no smirk, no demand. Just the words. My chest tightened in a way I did not appreciate. "If you tell anyone I said that," I muttered, "I'll deny it in court." I assumed. I glanced up. His eyes were dark again, but the gold lived close beneath them, close enough that I felt my own pulse answer. "We're not done talking about the mate thing," I said. "No," he replied, "we are not. And we're definitely not done with what almost happened in that waiting room." His voice lowered. "No." The word slid over my skin. My breath caught, and his eyes dropped to my mouth. Then every screen in the war room went black. Daniel swore. Eric turned before I did. A symbol appeared on the nearest monitor. Black wax. Silver crescent. Then Tyler Moore's face filled the screen, smiling like a man already standing over a grave. "Lock your doors, Anderson," he said. "I'm done sending messengers." His gaze shifted like he could see me through the camera. "Jaynayah, sweetheart, stay exactly where you are. I'm coming to Blackridge myself." The feed cut. One by one, the west perimeter cameras died. On the last screen, just before it vanished, headlights moved through the trees.
Author's point of view.
The first explosion hit the west tree line at 9:17 p.m. It did not shake Blackridge. Blackridge had been built by men who expected enemies, storms, and betrayal. The walls held. The reinforced windows absorbed the blast with a deep, angry groan. But every child in the estate screamed anyway. Jaynayah was already moving before the second impact rolled through the grounds. "Safe room," she shouted. "Now. No running ahead, no stopping for phones, no dramatic-ass decisions." Rebecca had one toddler on her hip and another child gripping her apron. Ashley guided two women from the South Hall, her voice shaking but steady enough to work. Rachel Bennett moved slower, one hand curved under her belly, her husband Jordan hovering so closely he almost tripped her. Jaynayah pointed at him. "Jordan, if you step on your pregnant wife, I will make you part of the floor." Rachel gave a breathless laugh. "Please don't encourage her." "I'm not encouraging, I'm motivating." The lights flickered. Somewhere outside, wolves howled. Not warning, war. Daniel's voice cracked through the estate intercom. West perimeter breached, all non-combatants to the inner shelter. Medical wing lockdown in 30 seconds. Jaynayah's heart slammed against her ribs, but she did not look toward Malik's room. She wanted to. God, she wanted to. But Vanessa was there. 2 guards were there. Malik was safer behind medical lockdown than he would be if Jaynayah abandoned 20 terrified people in the hall to satisfy the panic clawing at her throat. So she swallowed it until it cut. "Move," she said. "Kids in the middle. Pregnant women next. Everybody else behind them." A little girl with braids and tear-bright eyes stood frozen near the wall. Jaynayah crouched in front of her. "Hey, you remember me?" The girl nodded. "Good, I need you to do something important." Jaynayah pulled one of the emergency glow bands from a basket Ashley had prepared earlier and looped it around the child's wrist. "You hold that up so the others can follow the light. Think you can do that?" The girl sniffed. "Like a leader?" "Exactly like a leader, but shorter and with better hair." The girl gripped the band and nodded fiercely. Rebecca caught Jaynayah's eye. No lecture, no softness forced into a speech, just understanding. Then the third blast hit. This one was closer. A sharp metallic hiss followed it, and Jaynayah's head snapped toward the upper vent. Silver powder. "Down!" she barked. Caleb appeared at the end of the corridor, half shifted, eyes bright, claws extended, bandages already bleeding through his shirt. "Powder bomb hit the north intake. I told Daniel to seal the HVAC." He did. Tyler's men hit the maintenance line manually. Of course they did, because God forbids one mediocre alpha attack without arts and crafts. Caleb tossed her a pack from the wall. Masks. Jaynayah ripped it open. "Ashley, towels. Wet them, now." Ashley didn't hesitate. She sprinted to the utility sink. Rebecca started passing out masks. Jaynayah shoved one over Rachel's face first, then over the girl's. A teenage boy coughed. Jaynayah grabbed his chin. Breathe through the mask. Slow. Don't be brave. Be useful. Outside, a roar split the night. It was not like the others. The sound made every wolf in the hallway freeze, not from fear of the enemy, but recognition of something older than command. Eric had shifted. Beyond the estate's reinforced glass and floodlit grounds, the Alpha of Blackridge tore into Tyler's front line like a nightmare given muscle. His wolf was massive, black as a moonless pit, gold eyes burning through smoke and rain. The red of his tail flashed when he moved, a violent streak cutting through the chaos. Tyler's rogues came in dirty waves from the west woods, some in wolf form, others human with guns loaded in silver. They expected panic. They expected Blackridge to fold inward around its wounded. They did not expect Eric Anderson to meet them at the lawn's edge with his jaws already wet. He hit the first rogue low and broke its spine with a shake of his head. Another fired twice. One bullet missed, the other skimmed Eric's shoulder and smoked where silver kissed flesh. Eric did not slow. He lunged, caught the shooter by the thigh, and ripped him off his feet. The man's scream ended under Eric's paw. Daniel's team answered from the balconies with disciplined fire. Not silver. They did not need it. Blackridge wolves moved in coordinated pairs, driving Tyler's men away from windows and forcing them into kill lanes Daniel had marked hours earlier. Human tactics, Jaynayah's tactics. A fake ambulance screamed toward the front gate with lights flashing, exactly as she had predicted. The moment it crossed the outer checkpoint, steel barriers rose from the drive and trapped it between two reinforced posts. Daniel's men lit the tires and engine before the doors could open. 3 rogues crawled out coughing. Caleb dropped from the side entrance roof and hit one so hard the man's head cracked against stone. "See?" he shouted over the gunfire. "Seatbelts save lives, assholes." Then the east corridor alarms went red. Inside, Jaynayah saw it on the safe room tablet. East access. Old service hall. Not the same route Lauren used. A second seam. "Fuck," she whispered. Rebecca looked over. "What? They're not just outside." Caleb heard her before Rebecca did. His grin vanished. "How many?" "Thermal says 4, maybe 5, coming toward the inner hall." The safe room door stood open behind them. Children huddled inside beneath blankets. Rachel sat on a mattress, breathing carefully while Jordan held her hand. Ashley was counting heads under her breath, lips moving fast. Jaynayah shoved the tablet at Rebecca. "When I say close it, you close it." Rebecca's face hardened. "You're not staying outside." "I'm staying until Caleb gets those wolves away from the door." Caleb gave her an offended look. "Nice of you to assume I need help. You are bleeding through your shirt and your ego. Both are decorative." The first rogue turned the corner in human form, silver blade in hand. Caleb moved before Jaynayah could blink. He slammed the man into the wall, claws punching into his shoulder. A second attacker came low in wolf form, gray fur streaked with mud. Caleb kicked it aside, but pain flashed across his face. His ribs gave him away. Jaynayah grabbed the fire extinguisher from the wall. "Hey, flea market Cujo!" The wolf's head snapped toward her. She sprayed foam straight into its eyes. It yelped, disoriented, and Caleb used the opening to drive his claws into its throat. "Safe room," Caleb snapped. "Don't get bossy with me while dying." "I'm not dying." A gunshot cracked. Caleb jerked. Blood sprayed across the wall behind him. For one awful second, he looked surprised. Then he dropped to one knee. Jaynayah's body moved without permission. She caught him under the arm before he hit the floor, nearly buckling under his weight. "Caleb!" "Shoulder," he gritted. "Silver grazed. Maybe in." "Fuck, that burns." Another shot rang out, but one of Daniel's guards tackled the shooter from behind. They went down hard, snarling, fists and claws and blood against marble. Jaynayah dragged Caleb backward inch by inch. He tried to push himself up and failed. "If I die," he rasped, "tell Eric I was prettier." "You're not dying." She hooked both hands under his arms and hauled with everything she had. "I refuse to let your ego haunt me." "That's fair. My ghost would be unbearable." Your living self is barely tolerated." He laughed, then cursed as she pulled him over the safe room threshold. Rebecca slammed her palm against the panel. The reinforced door began to close, too slow. A rogue launched toward the gap, claws out, mouth open wide enough to show blood between his teeth. Jaynayah grabbed the emergency flare Daniel had taped beneath the door controls. She sparked it. White-hot light burst in her hand. The rogue recoiled with a howl, and the door sealed between them with a heavy hydraulic lock. Silence did not follow. War pressed against the walls in muffled violence. Children cried. Someone prayed. Caleb lay on the floor, teeth clenched, sweat standing on his forehead as blackened veins began creeping from the silver wound near his shoulder. "Vanessa," Jaynayah snapped into the emergency comm. "Caleb's hit. Silver in the shoulder. Safe room sealed." Static answered. Then Vanessa's voice came through, strained. "I can't leave Malik. Apply pressure around the wound, not on the entry point. Do not dig unless you can see the bullet." Jaynayah looked at the wound and swallowed hard. "Great," she muttered. "Emergency surgery in a basement bunker. Very Grey's Anatomy from hell." Caleb gave her a weak thumbs up. "Always knew you wanted inside me. Say that again and I'll let the silver take you." Ashley brought gloves and gauze. Rebecca kept the children turned away. Jaynayah worked because there was no room to fall apart. She pressed gauze around burned flesh. Caleb shook beneath her hands. The smell of silver was sharp and wrong, like hot metal and poison. His blood slicked her fingers through the gloves. On the tablet, the camera feeds flickered. Outside, Eric's wolf tore through another line of rogues near the fountain. He was bleeding now from 3 places. Silver burns smoked along his flank. Still, he stood between the estate and Tyler's army like the monster from every whispered warning. Only now Jaynayah understood. The monster was guarding the door. Her home. The word landed inside her before she could shove it away. Home. Then the tablet went black. Every lock panel in the safe room flashed once. Red, then green. Rebecca turned slowly. "That's not supposed to happen." Caleb's eyes sharpened despite the pain. "No, it's fucking not." The emergency comm crackled. Not Vanessa, not Daniel. A smooth male voice slid through the speaker. "Jaynayah." Every person in the safe room froze. Tyler Moore laughed softly. "You were clever with the vents. Clever with the ambulance. Clever little human." The inner lock clicked. Jaynayah stood, Caleb's blood still wet on her gloves. The safe room's rear service panel opened behind her. Tyler stepped through with a silver chain wrapped around one fist and Raymond Cross shoved in front of him like a shield. Raymond's face was bruised. His eyes were wild. Tyler smiled at Jaynayah. "Hello, sweetheart," he said. "Miss me?" The safe room had been built to keep monsters out. No one had planned for one to step through the rear service panel wearing a smile and dragging Raymond Cross by the collar. For a second, even the children stopped crying. Tyler Moore stood in the open seam of the wall with silver chain wrapped around one fist. Raymond hung in front of him, bruised, sweating, and shaking so badly his shoes scraped against the floor. Jaynayah stood between them and everyone else. Caleb lay behind her, blood soaking through the gauze at his shoulder, black veins crawling beneath his skin. Rebecca had already shoved the children farther back. Ashley stood in front of Rachel Bennett and the other pregnant women with a fire extinguisher clutched in both hands, like she was ready to crown a king with it. Tyler's gaze moved over the room and landed on Jaynayah. "There you are," he said softly. "All this trouble for one mouthy human." Jaynayah's gloves were wet with Caleb's blood. She flexed her fingers once. "You broke into a room full of children using my father as decoration. Don't act like I'm the dramatic one." Raymond made a strangled sound. "Jaynayah, listen to him." Her eyes cut to him. Whatever he saw there shut his mouth for half a breath. Only half. "Stop making this worse," Raymond hissed. "You always make everything worse. Just go with him. End this." Something in Caleb shifted behind her. Even poisoned by silver, even with pain hollowing out his face, he tried to rise. Jaynayah did not look back. "Stay down, Caleb. I hate this plan already, he rasped. Good thing no one asked you. Tyler laughed and pressed his thumb against the wall panel. A green light blinked red, then black. The overhead speaker crackled. Across Blackridge, in corridors, earpieces, command screens, and the blood-slick lawn outside, Tyler's voice poured through the estate. I want your alpha to hear this, Tyler said. Outside, through smoke and rain, Eric's black wolf stopped over the body of a rogue. Gold eyes lifted toward the house. Tyler tilted his head. Before Eric Anderson stole her and dressed theft up as protection, Raymond Cross promised her to me. His debt, his daughter, her mouth, her body, every defiant inch. His eyes dragged over Jaynayah with deliberate insult. The cunt was mine before Anderson ever put his hands on her. A low, broken sound came from the speaker system. Not static, a growl. The entire safe room felt it. Raymond seized on Tyler's words like they were a lifeline. It was business, Jay. You don't understand what men like us deal with. I had obligations. You had a son in a hospital bed, Jaynayah said. You had a wife you broke. You had a daughter you sold twice, because once apparently wasn't creative enough. Raymond's face twisted. Ungrateful bitch. Tyler smiled. There she is. That fire. He took a step forward, dragging Raymond with him. But fire can be trained. A bite, a mark, a public claim. Pack law recognizes strength. A bite is a wound, Jaynayah said, not a marriage license. Tyler's smile thinned. Jaynayah stepped closer before Rebecca could stop her, not far enough to leave the civilians exposed, far enough to make sure the camera in the corner caught her face, far enough for Eric to hear every word. My father sold a debt, she said, voice steady and hard. He did not sell me. The safe room went still. Even Caleb stopped breathing so loudly. He didn't own my body. He didn't own my name. He didn't own my life. So he had nothing to give you. Jaynayah's gaze did not leave Tyler's. You want a public claim? Fine. Here's mine. Tyler's jaw flexed. Jaynayah lifted her chin. I choose Blackridge, she said. I choose the people who bled for my brother. I choose the alpha who put a locked door between women and the men who bought them. Her voice caught for half a second, then strengthened. I choose Eric Anderson as my protector, my alpha, maybe my mate. Outside, Eric's wolf went utterly still. Jaynayah's eyes burned, but she did not look away. But he is not my owner, she said. I choose him because he gave me a choice. The word choice moved through Blackridge like a strike of lightning. Then Eric roared. The sound tore through the estate, shook dust from the ceiling, and made Tyler's smile vanish. For the first time since he entered, Tyler looked angry instead of amused. Then I'll put my mark where that smart mouth can't talk it off. He shoved Raymond aside and lunged. Jaynayah drove her knee up into his dick with every ounce of rage her father had ever taught her to swallow. Tyler grunted, but he was still wolf-fast. His hand clamped around her arm hard enough to bruise. He yanked her toward him, head lowering toward the side of her throat. Caleb moved. It was stupid, brave, and exactly like him. He caught Tyler's ankle with one hand and dragged with what strength the silver had not stolen. Tyler snarled and kicked him in the ribs. Caleb hit the floor with a choked curse. Jaynayah twisted, grabbed the emergency flare still smoking near the wall, and jammed it against Tyler's shoulder. He howled. The rear service panel exploded inward. Not with fire, with fur. Eric hit Tyler like the night itself had grown teeth. The impact drove both of them through the open service frame and into the narrow corridor beyond. Tyler shifted as he fell, bones snapping and reforming into a lean, ash-brown wolf with scarred flanks and yellow eyes. Eric was larger, bleeding, burned, terrifying. His black fur was streaked with silver smoke, and the red tail lashed behind him as he planted himself between Tyler and the safe room. Between Tyler and Jaynayah. Tyler sprang first. The silver chain flashed in his jaws. He whipped it over Eric's neck and shoulder, dragging it tight. Smoke rose instantly. The smell of burning fur and poisoned flesh filled the corridor. Eric's legs buckled. Jaynayah did not think. Human hands could touch what wolf skin could not. She grabbed the chain with both gloved hands and hauled backward. The silver came free with a wet, sizzling tear from Eric's flesh. Tyler snapped at her, teeth cutting through the air inches from her face, but Eric surged up and slammed him into the wall before he could reach her. Tile cracked. Bone followed. Raymond crawled toward the open panel. No one had been watching him. Of course no one had. Raymond Cross had built a life out of being overlooked until someone useful turned their back. He got one hand on the service frame, then another. "Tyler," he gasped, "I did what you wanted. I got you in. I gave you—" Tyler crashed against the opposite wall, half shifted now, one arm hanging wrong. Blood streamed from his mouth. His eyes flicked to Raymond with disgust so complete it looked bored. "You promised me a woman who would kneel." Raymond froze. "I got you nothing?" Raymond stammered. "I got you access. I got you her. You owe me." Tyler caught him by the throat. Jaynayah saw the exact moment her father understood that monsters did not honor invoices. Tyler's claws punched in. Raymond's mouth opened. No words came out, just blood. Tyler threw him aside like spoiled meat. Raymond hit the floor near the broken service panel and did not move again. For one strange second, Jaynayah waited for grief. It did not come. Shock came. Revulsion. A cold, empty click where fear had lived for too long. But grief? No. Raymond Cross had died beside the monster he chose. Eric's wolf turned toward Tyler. Tyler smiled through blood. "She'll never be yours." Eric lunged. There was nothing elegant about it. No formal challenge, no pretty duel between noble alphas. Tyler had brought Silver to a house with children. He had poisoned Caleb. He had hunted Malik. He had put his hands on Jaynayah and called it a claim. Eric answered like a monster built for judgment. He tore through Tyler's guard, jaws closing over his shoulder and ripping deep. Tyler screamed, shifted wrong, clawed at Eric's face, and opened 3 fresh lines across his muzzle. Eric did not let go. He drove Tyler down with one massive paw on his chest. Tyler thrashed beneath him, snarling, choking, still trying to reach for Jaynayah as though entitlement could survive broken bones. Eric's gold eyes found her. For a heartbeat, he waited, not because Tyler deserved mercy, because Jaynayah had once asked him not to become Raymond's executioner. This was different. She saw that he knew it too. Tyler was not a helpless man in chains. He was an alpha who would rise again if allowed. He would come for her, for Malik, for every child hiding behind Rebecca's shaking arms. Jaynayah did not tell Eric to stop. Eric's jaws closed around Tyler's throat. The crack was quiet compared to the war outside. Tyler Moore went still. Silence arrived in pieces. First the corridor, then the safe room, then Daniel's voice over the restored comms, rough and breathless. "West line is collapsing. Tyler's wolves are retreating. Alpha?" Eric shifted. Black fur withdrew into blood-slick skin. Bones reshaped. A moment later, Eric Anderson knelt naked on the broken tile. Silver burns smoking across his shoulder, chest rising and falling like each breath had to claw its way out. Jaynayah stepped over the threshold. "Are you hurt?" he asked immediately. She looked down at herself. Caleb's blood on her gloves, Tyler's on her sleeve, Raymond's spreading dark across the floor behind her. "Not mine," she said. Eric's gaze followed hers to Raymond. Something unreadable moved across his face. "Jaynayah, he chose his monsters," she said. Eric looked back at her. For once she let him see all of it. The fury, the relief, the horror, the part of her that was still standing because falling apart had never been convenient. "You killed Tyler," she said. "Yes." He failed. Eric's eyes burned gold at the edges. He touched what was not his. Jaynayah swallowed. Behind her, Caleb groaned. Beautiful speech. Very violent. "Someone please remember, I'm still dying attractively." Rebecca let out a shaky sob that might have been a laugh. Then the medical wing alarm screamed through the comm. Every smile died. Vanessa's voice broke over the speaker. "Eric, Jaynayah, get here now." Jaynayah's chest locked. "Malik," she said, static hissed. Then Vanessa, no longer calm, no longer controlled. "It's Malik. His heart is crashing." Behind her voice, a monitor began one long, unbroken scream.
The medical alarm did not sound like a warning. It sounded like an ending. I ran. My shoes slipped once on blood in the corridor, and Eric caught my elbow before I hit the wall. Someone had thrown him sweatpants. They hung low on his hips, stained dark where silver burns still smoked across his skin. He looked like hell dragged itself out of a battlefield and decided to follow me anyway. I didn't thank him. I couldn't breathe. Behind us, Caleb shouted something from the safe room. Probably a joke. Probably stupid. Probably his way of telling me he was still alive. I didn't stop. Vanessa's voice kept cracking through the comms. Move! I need that line flushed, now! No, don't! Shit! Malik, stay with me! My chest tore open. No, I said, even though nobody had asked me anything. No, no, no! Eric stayed beside me, silent and bleeding. The medical wing doors were halfway shut from lockdown. Daniel met us there, shoulders slick with rain and blood, and punched in a code with fingers that shook only once. The doors opened. I heard the monitor before I saw my brother. Not the long scream anymore. Beeping. Wrong beeping. Uneven. Frantic. Like his heart was stumbling through a dark room and hitting every wall. Vanessa stood over him with 2 nurses. Malik's bed had been raised, wires everywhere, oxygen mask over his face. His eyes were open, but barely. Sweat glued his hair to his forehead. His lips had a bluish tint that made something inside me go feral. Move! I snapped at a nurse who was not even in my way. Vanessa looked at me. Her face was controlled, which was how I knew it was bad. He came back, she said. Don't say it like that. Jaynayah, do not say it like that. Malik's fingers twitched against the blanket. I grabbed his hand. His skin felt too cool. Hey, I said, forcing my voice into something that wasn't a scream. You are being very dramatic right now. His eyes shifted to me. Behind the oxygen mask, his mouth moved. Vanessa eased it down for half a second. Did we win? He rasped. I laughed once. It broke in the middle. That's your question? Priorities. Tyler's dead. His eyelids lowered, slow with relief. Good. My throat closed. Dad too. For a moment nothing changed. Then Malik exhaled. Not grief, not shock. Release. Efficient night, he whispered. Yeah, I said, wiping at my face with the back of my wrist. Blackridge has terrible hospitality, but the murder turnaround is impressive. His mouth twitched. Vanessa adjusted something on the monitor. Malik, I need to put the mask back. He turned his eyes toward her and gave one tiny shake of his head. My entire body went cold. No, I said. What does that mean? Vanessa did not answer fast enough. I looked at Eric. He stood near the foot of the bed, silent as stone, but his eyes had gone terrible. Not cold, not alpha, just ruined. I hated that expression before I understood it. Then I understood it. What does that mean? I asked again, quieter. Malik's fingers tightened weakly around mine. Jay. No. You don't even know what I'm going to say. Yes, I fucking do. His breathing hitched. The monitor stuttered with him. Vanessa touched my arm. He signed an advance directive before he was taken. I stared at her. A what? A legal order. Her voice gentled, which only made it worse. No prolonged resuscitation. No intubation if his body reached this stage. This stage, I repeated. What stage, Vanessa? Malik closed his eyes. Eric looked away. The room shifted. The battle outside, the blood on my gloves. Raymond dead on a floor somewhere. Tyler's broken body in a service hall. All of it the back. There was only my brother in a bed and the secret everyone seemed to know but me. Malik, I said. He opened his eyes. I had 10 days, he whispered. Maybe less. For a second, the words meant nothing. 10 days until an appointment. 10 days until a new medication. 10 days until some doctor in a coat said another thing I would fight, research, appeal, curse at, and refuse to accept. Then his face told me. 10 days until this. My hand jerked away from his. No. I knew before Tyler. No. Jay, no, you don't get to do that. You don't get to drop a countdown on me like it's weather. My voice rose. You knew? His eyes filled. I turned on Eric because it was easier than turning on a dying man. You knew. Eric did not defend himself. Yes. The word cracked across the room. You sat outside his room. You watched me make jokes. You watched me talk like... My breath broke. Like I had time. His jaw tightened. Yes. Fuck you. He absorbed it like he deserved worse. Maybe he did. Maybe he didn't. I couldn't tell. Grief was already sharpening knives inside me and looking for somewhere to put them. Malik's hand moved against the blanket. Don't blame him. I turned back, furious. Don't you start protecting him from me. I asked him to carry it, Malik said, each word dragging itself out of him. Because I knew you couldn't. My eyes burned. Fuck you for deciding what I can handle. I know. His mouth trembled into something like a smile. Put it on my tab. I'm serious. So am I. He swallowed hard. Vanessa lifted the mask, but he shook his head again. Stubborn asshole. My stubborn asshole. If you knew, you would have stopped living before I was even gone. That is not your decision. You would have sat right here counting my breaths like punishments. I flinched, because he was right. Because I hated him for being right. You would have stopped eating, stopped sleeping, stopped yelling at people who deserved it. His gaze flicked to Eric, then back to me. I needed a few days where you still thought you could save me. A sound left me that did not feel human. I was supposed to save you. You did. No, I didn't. You stood between me and Dad when you were too little to reach the top shelf. His eyes shone. You learned insurance codes and medication names and which nurses were lazy. You skipped meals and lied about it. You made being alive feel less lonely. My lips shook. I pressed them together hard enough to hurt. Malik breathed in shallowly. You saved me for 11 years. That's not enough. It was everything. I bent over him because standing took too much strength. My forehead pressed to the edge of his blanket. It smelled like detergent, antiseptic, and him. I don't know how to do this, I whispered. His fingers found my hair, weak. Barely there. Enough to destroy me. Yes, you do, he said. You hate it, but you do hard things. I'm tired of hard things. I know. That undid me more than any speech could have. Vanessa stepped back. The nurses did too. They gave us space, though the monitor still tattled on every failing beat. Eric stayed where he was, not touching me, not leaving. I could feel him through that awful bond, the grief in him restrained so tightly it shook. He had promised Malik something. I could see it now. Whatever had passed between them had carved itself into him. Malik looked toward him. Eric. Eric moved closer immediately. I'm here. You promised. I remember. My head lifted. Promised what? Malik ignored me because apparently dying made him bold. Not just Tyler. Eric's voice went rough. Not just Tyler. Love her when she's mean. I made a broken sound. Malik. That's when she's scared, Eric said quietly. The words hit with the weight of history. He knew. Not all of it. Not the bathroom crying, maybe. Not the old hunger. Not every time I put myself between Malik and Raymond's temper and pretended afterward that my hands weren't shaking. But enough. Malik looked satisfied. Good. I am standing right here, I said, wiping my face angrily. Stop discussing me like I'm a difficult couch you're trying to move. His laugh turned into a cough. The monitor dipped. Vanessa stepped forward. Malik's eyes found mine, sharper now with urgency. Listen to me. I am. No, you're planning how to argue with me after I'm dead. That does sound like me. Don't let Mom become your job. That struck low and unexpected. I looked down. If she calls, he said. If she cries, if she says she has nobody now. You remember, she had you. She had me. She stayed with him anyway. A tear dropped onto his blanket. I don't want to hate her, I whispered. Then don't. His thumb moved once against my hand. But don't carry her either. My chest hurt so badly, I wondered if hearts could bruise without breaking. And Eric? Malik breathed. I tensed. He's not Dad. I looked at him. Help is not always a trap, he said. Love is not always debt. The room blurred. You spent your whole life surviving, he continued. Now you have to live. I don't know what that means. Find out. His mouth curved faintly. Annoy rich wolf boy. Eat real food. Wear my hoodie even though it makes you look emotionally unstable. I choked on a laugh that became a sob. And fried chicken, he whispered. What? At my funeral. No sad-ass boiled vegetables. You're not allowed to plan catering right now. I'm dying. I can be demanding. You were demanding before. Practice. I pressed his hand to my cheek. I love you. His eyes softened. There he was. My little brother. My only real family. The person I had built my whole life around keeping alive. I love you too, Jay. Don't go. I'm tired. I don't care. I know. The monitor slowed. No, I said, panic rising. No, Malik, look at me. He did. Barely. I felt Eric behind me, close enough to catch me if I fell, far enough not to assume he had the right. Malik's last breath rattled, then steadied, then left. The monitor changed. Vanessa moved, checked him, and for one insane second I waited for her to fix it, for her to bark orders, for machines to restart, for the world to remember that Malik Cross did not get to die because I had not given permission. But Vanessa only closed her eyes. I'm sorry, she whispered. No, her voice broke. Time of death, 10:43 p.m. No, my hand tightened around Malik's. Still warm, still him. Not enough. Somewhere outside the medical wing, a wolf howled. Then another. Then another. Blackridge lifted its grief into the night until the walls seemed to breathe with it. Wolves who had known Malik for days howled like he had been born under their moon, like he was one of theirs, like he was one of ours. My body began to shake. Eric said my name softly. The grief turned toward him because grief was cruel and stupid and desperate for a target. Malik had told me not to blame him. My heart wanted to blame someone or die trying. I looked at Eric through tears I could no longer stop. How long? I whispered. His face shattered before he answered.
I had no weapon for her question. Jaynayah looked at me over Malik's still body, tears on her face, his hand trapped between both of hers, like grip alone could drag him back. How long? She whispered. The pack was still howling outside. Inside the room, the monitor had gone silent. I tasted blood from biting into my own tongue. Since the night we brought him back. Her eyes closed. The pain that moved through the bond was not a scream. It was worse. It was the sound before one. The awful intake when the body realized there was no air left in the world. He asked me not to tell you, I said. Her eyes opened again, wet and furious. And you just listened? Yes. You watched me sit here. You watched me make plans. You watched me act like I could fix it. Yes. The word was ash in my mouth. She stood so fast the chair behind her struck the wall. Vanessa flinched, but did not interfere. No one did. Jaynayah crossed the space between us and shoved both hands into my chest. My wounds protested. Silver burns split beneath the pressure. I did not move. You should have told me. I know. You should have fucking told me. I know. No, you don't. Her voice cracked open. You don't know what it's like to spend your whole life keeping one person alive and find out everyone else knew the clock was already running. I wanted to tell you. Then why didn't you? Because it was his death, I said quietly, and he wanted one thing that belonged to him. That stopped her. Not her anger, never that easily, but the direction of it faltered. Behind her, Malik lay still beneath the hospital blanket, his face finally free of pain. 23 years old, too young by every law that mattered, and too tired for any law to save. Jaynayah turned back toward him, her shoulders folded inward. For the first time since I had known her, she looked small, not weak, never weak, but reduced to the part of herself that had been a child standing in front of a man too cruel to call father. He left me, she said. No rage this time, only disbelief. I took one step closer. Jaynayah. He left me. The bond twisted. My wolf pressed against my ribs with a wounded sound I had never heard from him before. I would have taken her grief into my own body if I could, but grief was not silver. It could not be cut out. She wiped her face hard, almost angry at the tears for existing. Then she looked at me again and I waited for another blow. I would have accepted it. Every fist, every curse. Instead, she breathed through her teeth and said, I want to blame you because grief needs somewhere to go. My chest locked. Her mouth trembled. But you saved him. You gave me 10 days I wouldn't have had. I said nothing. There was nothing in any language worth saying. Her composure broke. It did not shatter loudly. There was no dramatic collapse, no pretty suffering for anyone to witness and misunderstand. Her knees simply failed. I caught her before she hit the floor, one arm around her back, the other under her legs. For half a second she fought on instinct. Then her face pressed into my shoulder. Stay, she whispered. So I stayed. I lowered us both to the floor beside Malik's bed and held her while she shook. I did not tell her it would be all right. That would have been a lie, and Jaynayah had been raised on lies dressed as comfort. I held her and let the pack's howls fill the spaces where words had no right to be. Vanessa cried silently while she removed the lines from Malik's arms. Her hands were steady, even with tears on her cheeks. When she reached for the blanket, Jaynayah lifted her head. Don't make him look like a hospital, she said, voice raw. Vanessa nodded. I won't. Jaynayah stood on unsteady legs and helped. I did not stop her. She wiped Malik's face with a warm cloth, smoothed his hair, removed the tape from his skin with the gentleness of someone handling something holy. When her fingers shook too hard, she cursed under her breath and tried again. I stood at the foot of the bed and kept watch. That was all I had to offer. By midnight, Caleb was in the next room with the silver dug out of his shoulder and enough medication in him to silence most men. Not Caleb. He opened one eye when Jaynayah stepped in, exhausted and hollow-eyed. Please tell me, he rasped, that your brother's funeral will have decent food. I refuse to mourn on soup. Jaynayah made a sound that was half sob, half laugh. Vanessa, standing behind her, covered her mouth. Caleb's gaze softened. He was a good guy. He knew you for 5 minutes, Jaynayah said. He had excellent taste. Her laugh broke apart before it became anything whole. Caleb reached out with his good hand. She stared at it, then took it. He squeezed once. No jokes after that. By morning, Blackridge knew Malik Cross was dead. No one asked if the human belonged in the pack cemetery. No one asked whether his blood was wolf blood. No one looked to me for permission to grieve him. They simply came. Rebecca arrived first with food Jaynayah could not eat. Fried chicken wrapped in foil. Biscuits, macaroni and cheese. A peach cobbler still warm from the oven because grief in Rebecca's hands always came with something to carry. Jaynayah stared at the containers on the table outside the medical wing. I can't. I know, Rebecca said. It's for later. What if there isn't a later? Rebecca's face bent with sorrow, but her voice stayed firm. Then I'll bring more tomorrow and we'll insult that too. Jaynayah blinked. Then she nodded once. Ashley and Rachel came next. Rachel moved carefully, one hand braced beneath her belly. Jordan stood behind her with red eyes and a torn sleeve, looking like a man who had fought terror with nothing but devotion and his own body. The little girl from the safe room came with a glow band wrapped around her wrist. She placed it on the table beside Malik's folded hoodie. So he can find the way, she whispered. Jaynayah turned away. I saw her press both hands over her mouth. The memorial was held at sunset beneath the eastern oak. Blackridge's dead were usually honored by moonlight, but Malik had been human, and Jaynayah said he hated being cold, so the pack gathered while the last heat of the day clung to the grass. Vanessa had handled the legalities. Malik's directive gave Jaynayah authority. Jaynayah chose burial at Blackridge because, in her words, he deserves one place our father never gets to touch. No one argued. The ground beneath the oak had been opened with care, not by machines, by wolves who used their hands because labor mattered. Daniel stood at the head of the grave in a black shirt, his posture rigid, his grief contained with military precision. Lauren Hill remained at the edge under guard, tears slipping down her cheeks. Jaynayah saw her and said nothing. Not forgiveness, not rejection, just grief too large to make room for another war. Malik's casket was simple dark wood. His hoodie lay folded over the top. Jaynayah had tucked a packet of hot sauce into the pocket and threatened anyone who smiled. Everyone smiled anyway. Caleb arrived late, arm in a sling, face grey with pain and stubbornness. He limped to the casket and placed a greasy paper takeout menu beside the hoodie. For the road, he said hoarsely, and if heaven doesn't season their chicken, you come haunt me first. I'll handle management. A cracked laugh moved through the mourners. Jaynayah covered her eyes. Then she laughed too. It hurt to hear. It healed nothing. But it was alive. Vanessa stepped forward after that. She tried to speak as a doctor, but the words failed her twice before she managed. He was brave and funny, and extremely difficult about medication schedules. Jaynayah whispered, that part was genetic. Rebecca cried openly. Ashley held one of the children. Rachel leaned against Jordan and wept without shame. Then the wolves howled again. Not the violent sound of war, not warning, not command, a farewell. It rose from Daniel first, low and rough. Then Caleb, barely able to stand, tipped his head back and joined. One by one, the pack followed. The sound rolled across Blackridge, over the scarred lawn, the broken west trees, the blood-washed stone. For Malik Cross, human, brother. Ours. Jaynayah stood beside the grave with both fists clenched at her sides. I stood behind her, close enough to catch her, far enough to leave the choice in her hands. After a long moment, her fingers reached back. I took them. She did not look at me. Don't try to make this better. I won't. Just don't move. I won't. So I stood there, her hand in mine, while the pack lowered her brother into the ground. Dusk deepened. One by one, the mourners left food, flowers, notes, small offerings humans and wolves alike understood without being taught. Jaynayah stayed until the last shovel of earth settled. Only then did Daniel approach. The look on his face pulled me out of grief and back into war. What? I asked. A courier crossed the outer gate 10 minutes ago under council protection. My wolf went still. Daniel held out a black envelope. not Tyler's black wax with the silver crescent. This seal was older, heavier, official enough to make every wolf nearby lower their eyes, the Werewolf Council. Jaynayah looked from the envelope to me. "What is that?" I turned it over. My name was written first. Alpha Eric Anderson of Blackridge Pack. Beneath it in precise silver ink was a second line, concerning the human female, Jaynayah Cross.
The black envelope waited longer than I expected. Eric did not open it under the eastern oak. He stood there with the thing in his hand, the council seal catching the last blue edge of dusk, and for one awful second I thought grief was about to become paperwork. But he only looked at Daniel and said, "Not here." Daniel nodded once. Nobody argued. That was how I knew the envelope was bad. People argued with Eric about ordinary shit. Caleb argued with him while actively bleeding. Rebecca argued with him about eating. I argued with him because breathing in the same room as arrogant men apparently triggered my fight response. But no one argued about the council. The pack drifted away from Malik's grave in quiet clusters. Some touched the trunk of the eastern oak before they left. Some pressed fingers to the fresh earth. The little girl who had given Malik her glow band came back once, crying silently, and Rebecca guided her away with one hand on her shoulder. I stayed until the sky went dark. Eric stayed with me. He did not speak. He did not try to tell me Malik was in a better place. He did not insult my intelligence with phrases people used when they were terrified of silence. He just stood there, close enough for warmth, far enough not to trap me. That should not have mattered. It did. When the cold finally crawled through my dress and into my bones, I looked down at the grave and said, "You better haunt me, if heaven has bland chicken." The wind moved through the oak leaves. I pretended that meant he heard me. Then I turned and walked back toward the house. Blackridge looked wounded. The west windows were boarded. One of the stone columns near the front entrance had a long crack down its center. The lawn was torn up where wolves had fought and bled and nearly died because Tyler Moore thought wanting something made it his. Inside, the estate smelled like smoke, antiseptic, wet fur, and Rebecca's food. Grief, apparently, came with macaroni and cheese. Caleb sat in the main hall with his arm in a sling, a blanket over his lap, and the bitter expression of a man who had lost a fight with a doctor. "You look like shit," he told me. I stopped in front of him. "You look like shit with accessories." He glanced at the sling. "This is medical couture. It's giving wounded raccoons." His smile pulled weakly at one corner. "Good. I was aiming for tragic but fuckable. Try tragic and heavily medicated. That too." The smile faded. For a moment there was nothing funny left between us. Just the empty space where Malik's laugh should have fit. Caleb looked toward the hallway, then back at me. He would have liked the funeral. He would have complained there weren't enough napkins. Valid criticism. I breathed out through my nose. It almost became a laugh. Almost. Then Caleb's gaze shifted over my shoulder. Alpha. Eric had followed me in, black envelope still in hand. Caleb's expression changed. Less teasing. More wary. "What's the evil stationery say?" he asked. "I haven't opened it," Eric said. Caleb blinked. "That's new." "It could wait." "For what?" Eric's eyes moved to me. "For her to bury her brother." My throat tightened, which annoyed me. I had already cried enough today to hydrate a small village. Caleb looked between us, then nodded slowly. "Well, if the council complains about being ignored, tell them grief had seniority." "I'll be sure to phrase it exactly that way," Eric said. "Please do. I want to be remembered as brave and legally inconvenient." Vanessa appeared from the medical corridor before I could answer. Her hair was pulled back, her face exhausted, her eyes red. She held out a bottle of water to me. I stared at it. She shook it once. "Drink. I'm not thirsty." "You're dehydrated." "I'm grieving." "Those are not mutually exclusive." I took the bottle because arguing required energy, and I was dangerously low on fuel. Rebecca had left a plate covered in foil on the side table. My name was written on a sticky note. Under it, in smaller letters, she had added, "Eat whenever the rage gets hungry." That did it. Not the grave, not the howling, not the envelope from the werewolf government mafia. A sticky note from a woman who had known me for less than a month made my eyes burn again. I turned away fast. Eric noticed. Of course he noticed. He noticed everything when I least wanted to be seen. "Come with me," he said quietly. That old reflex snapped its teeth. That sounded dangerously close to an order. His expression did not change. "Then let me rephrase. Would you come with me?" Caleb made a small gagging sound. "Growth is disgusting." Vanessa smacked the back of his head. "Ow, I am injured." "You're annoying." "I can be both." I followed Eric before my face did something embarrassing in public. He took me to the library, not the war room, not his office with all the screens and weapons and billionaire alpha bullshit. The library was quiet, warm, and smelled like old paper instead of blood. Someone had lit the fireplace. Rain tapped softly against the tall windows. The room should have felt strange. Instead, it felt like the only place in the house where the world was willing to lower its voice. Eric set the black envelope on the desk. Then he stepped away from it. I looked at him. If that thing starts whispering, I'm burning the whole desk. It won't whisper. That's exactly what someone says before the whispering starts. His mouth twitched, but the almost smile died before it was born. He looked tired. Not physically, even though he had every right to collapse. Silver burns still marked his shoulder and ribs beneath the black shirt someone had forced him into. His face had that controlled stillness I used to mistake for arrogance. Now I knew better. Sometimes control was just pain with good posture. He turned toward me fully. "Before I open it, I need to say something." My stomach tightened. That sounds like a breakup speech, and considering we haven't officially done whatever the fuck this is, that would be impressive. It is not a breakup speech. Great. Because if you dismiss me after I got blood on your fancy floors, I'm billing you for emotional whiplash. Jaynayah. There was too much in my name. I shut up. Mostly. Eric reached into the desk drawer and removed a folder. Plain, cream-colored, harmless-looking. That made me trust it less. "What is that?" "Options." I stared at him. I hate that word when rich people say it. "I know." He placed the folder on the desk beside the envelope. "But you are going to hear me." Something in his tone landed between command and plea. I crossed my arms. "Fine. Tyler is dead. Raymond is dead. Malik is buried here because you chose that. The debt that brought you to Blackridge is gone." My chest hurt at Malik's name, but I kept my face still. Eric continued. "You owe this pack nothing." I laughed once, sharp and ugly. "That's cute. I'm pretty sure half the windows are boarded because of me. Because of Tyler. Because Tyler wanted me. Because men keep mistaking wanting for ownership." His eyes hardened. "That is not your crime." Rebecca had said something close to that once. Hearing it from him felt different. He sounded like he wanted to put the words into law and make the universe obey. He tapped the folder once. "There is money in an account only you can access. Enough to live comfortably, anywhere. I can arrange an apartment, a house, security, no security. New identification if you want it. Your mother will not have access to you unless you choose. Raymond's remaining assets will be tied up for years, but whatever can legally be reclaimed for Malik's care will go to you." My mouth went dry. If you want school, work, travel, a place where no one knows your name, I can make that happen. If you want Malik moved later, we will move him. If you want him here and you gone, he stays protected. "Stop," I said. He did. The worst part was that he actually stopped. He did not crowd me, did not soften the offer by stepping closer, did not use the bond tightening between us like a leash. I looked at the folder until the edges blurred. Freedom should have felt like a door opening. Instead, it felt like standing at the edge of a cliff with somebody politely asking if I wanted to jump. Why? I asked. Eric's voice lowered. Because I took you from your life, even if that life was hurting you. Because my wolf wants you here, and wanting you does not give me the right to keep you. Because if I make your choice for you, then I am no better than every man who put a price on your body. My breath caught. He looked at me like the truth cost him something. If you stay, he said, it has to be because you want to. Not because Raymond sold you. Not because Tyler hunted you. Not because Malik asked me to protect you. Not because the bond pulls at us. You. I hated him a little for that. It would have been easier if he had been a bastard. If he had demanded, claimed, told me I belonged here because some wolf inside him had decided my life for me. I knew how to fight that. I was very good at fighting cages. But this was a door with no lock. I walked to the desk and opened the folder. Bank documents. A deed option. Identification paperwork. Legal protections. Everything neat and signed in places that mattered. No strings I could see. My hands began to shake. I closed the folder gently, because tearing it in half felt rude and dramatic. I can leave? I asked. Yes. And nobody stops me? No. You don't send Daniel to lurk behind my garbage cans? Only if you ask for security. That man would absolutely judge my recycling. He would. I swallowed. The library was too warm. My skin prickled. My heart hurt in old places and new ones. I thought about a safe apartment somewhere clean and anonymous. A lock that was mine. A bed nobody had bought. A name that did not come with Raymond Cross attached to it like rot. I thought about never seeing wolves bleed again. Never smelling silver smoke. Never standing in a house full of people who looked at me like I was worth guarding. Then I thought about Malik under the eastern oak. Rebecca's sticky note. Caleb's stupid, wounded raccoon face. Vanessa's hands removing tape from Malik's skin like tenderness was a medical skill. Ashley telling me Eric's women had wanted locked doors, not his dick. Children pressing glow bands to grief because they did not know what else to give. And Eric. Eric standing in smoke and rain with blood on his mouth, waiting for me to choose instead of taking. I'm not going, I said. His body went very still. Do not answer because you think I need to hear it, he said. I lifted my chin. I'm answering because I'm tired of powerful men thinking my decisions need review. Gold flickered at the edge of his eyes. I stepped closer. I'm staying. His chest rose slowly. Not because I have nowhere else to go, I said. Not because Malik is buried here. Not because you have money or guards or a murder wolf with dramatic coloring. His mouth softened. I'm staying because I want to. The bond moved. Not a chain, not a hook. A warmth beneath my ribs, dangerous and alive, like something in me had been curled up for years and finally lifted its head. Eric's voice was rough when he said, Jaynayah. I'm not promising to be easy. I never wanted easy. Good. I stepped into him, because easy probably has better survival instincts. His hand lifted, then stopped before touching me. Always stopping, always asking without words. It made my throat tight all over again. If you ask whether I'm sure, I warned, I'll kick you. His eyes dropped to my mouth. Are you? I rolled my eyes. You have a serious self-preservation problem. Answer me. I breathed in. About forever? No. About mates and councils and wolves and whatever fresh hell was sealed in that envelope? Absolutely not. About this? Yes, I whispered. He kissed me like restraint had teeth, and every one of them was cutting him from the inside. At first he was careful. So careful it almost broke me. His mouth touched mine like a question. Like he still expected me to pull away and call him an arrogant asshole for assuming. So I answered. I grabbed the front of his shirt and kissed him back. The sound he made was not human. It rolled through his chest and into mine, low and possessive and wrecked. His arm came around my waist, firm but not trapping, pulling me against the heat of him. My hand slid up to his shoulders, and he flinched when I brushed one silver burn. I pulled back immediately. Shit. Sorry. Don't stop. That sounds medically stupid. It is. I laughed against his mouth. Then he kissed me again, deeper this time. His tongue swept over mine, slow and filthy enough to send heat straight down my spine. My grief did not disappear. It stayed there, heavy and real. But for the first time all day, it was not the only thing I could feel. His hand spread across my back. Mine tightened in his shirt. No force, no debt, no price, just a choice. When his mouth moved to my jaw, his teeth grazed my skin, and my entire body went still. Eric froze instantly. His breath burned against my throat, never without permission. My pulse thundered. I believed him. That terrified me more than the teeth. Good, I said, voice shaky. Because if you bite me without asking, I'll turn your balls into earrings. A laugh broke out of him, quiet and startled. God help me, I loved the sound. Not love. No. Absolutely not. My brother had been buried less than an hour ago, and my life was already a disaster with supernatural accessories. We were not naming feelings tonight, but the feeling was there anyway, sitting in the room like a smug bitch. I stepped back before I did something irresponsible on a library desk, while grief and hormones formed an alliance. Eric let me go immediately. I pointed at the black envelope. Open the evil mail before I start making decisions with my tongue. His eyes darkened. That was not an invitation, I added. It sounded like one. Rich wolf boy, I promise you'll know when I'm inviting you. His jaw flexed. I smiled for the first time all day, and almost hated how good it felt. Then Eric picked up the envelope. The mood changed before the seal even broke. The air tightened. His wolf pressed close enough that I felt mine. Whatever human piece of me had started answering him. Go alert. He slid one finger beneath the black flap and opened it cleanly. Inside was a single sheet of thick ivory paper. Eric read silently. One line, then another. The gold vanished from his eyes, replaced by something colder. What? I asked. He did not answer. I snatched the letter from his hand because patience was a virtue, and I'd never pretended to be virtuous. The words were printed in dark ink beneath the Werewolf Council's crest. I read them once, then again because surely the first time my brain had been joking. By authority of the High Council of Lycan Governance, Alpha Eric Anderson of Blackridge Pack is hereby summoned to appear before the Council Tribunal regarding the unlawful destruction of Alpha Tyler Moore and suspected unsanctioned mating bond with a human female. My stomach dropped. I kept reading. The human female, Jaynayah Cross, is to be delivered alive to Council custody for examination, classification, and determination of threat status. Failure to surrender the named human within 48 hours will be considered open defiance of Council law. Delivered. Custody. Examination. I looked up slowly. Eric's face had gone still in a way I had not seen since Tyler put his hands on me. No, he said. The word was soft. Final. Then Daniel's voice came through the library comm, tight with warning. Alpha, we have movement at the outer gate. Eric took the letter from me. My fingers had gone numb. Daniel continued. 3 black vehicles. Council plates. A cold smile touched the edge of Eric's mouth, and every hair on my body rose. They're early, he said. Outside, beyond the rain-dark windows, wolves began to growl.
I see it in your eyes when you look away, like you're carrying storms you won't let me face. You laugh it off, say I'm okay, but your voice don't lie, it's starting feel every crack, you don't let show. If I could take it, I swear I would trade your pain for mine.